friends and brothers. This is Justin Jones with Masonic Improvement and joined with my co-host, Dennis Yates. We are going to do a short series. We're going to look at our top 3 videos that Dennis and I have agreed on that are both of our favorites. And we're going to do a quick summary and then we'll have the video. So this is to bring more recognition to videos that we think either are outstanding or that we thoroughly enjoyed or that just need more attention. Because there's great content and they need love.
These are the top 3, the goats in Masonry.
I love it. It's a great title.
Ooh, yes.
So the first
goat in Freemasonry.
Yes. Hopefully this will be a good video and it won't be bad.
Well, when you make a sheep noise instead of a goat noise,
they sound the same. They're both.
No, they do not.
Yes, they do.
They are not the same animal.
Okay. All right.
Our number 2 choice of all time, number 2, comes from Justin and I together. Amazingly enough, we were able to come up with something halfway intelligent to say. And when 2 quarters, we got there. But anyways, this number 2 video, it really is our favorite. It's the deepest we've dove into esoteric. Freemasonry, or at least esoterics in ancient mystery schools or mysticism attached to Freemasonry, because all this stuff in life and in general has all had its own stature and its own merit, but we just happen to tie this to Masonry and it works out pretty good. So Justin, tell our folks a little bit more about
that. Man, I have been going down this esoteric journey for a number of years, and I've always been kind of hesitant to talk about it. There's already lots of channels out there that cover esoteric stuff pretty well, and that really hasn't been in our wheelhouse in the past. However, I've wanted to talk about it. It's something I really enjoy. I know Dennis really enjoys. We took that leap, and man, it was such a good episode. Like, it's so good. And it's just part 1. Like, as of this time of this recording, there's a part 2, and it'll be out later this week of this recording. So by the time you see this, it's probably already out. But as of right now, the episode in question is my second. It's my number 2. I love it. I've actually listened to it several times just because there's so much value to be had from that. And granted, most of it's Dennis, because Dennis actually knows. He's been saying this longer, but it's and if you watch the video, you'll understand, because this is something you can't just listen to once. It's not something you can just read a book about or just listen to once and understand everything there is to it. So I gain value every time I listen to it again. And I strongly encourage, if you haven't heard it yet, or even if you have heard it yet, this recommendation, check it out again.
Yes, and I'd even go as far as to say that 1 and 2 belongs together. Mm-hmm. And even though it's going to be a larger series, but our number 1 or our number 2 of our 3 is Esoterica, episode 0,
part 1.
Yeah,
episode 0, part 1.
Episode 0, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. So think about that while you're listening.
Look and at just the thumbnail.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So without any further ado, here we go. Hello, friends and brothers. This is Justin Jones with Masonic Improvement, joined with Brother Dennis Yates. How are you doing, Dennis?
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. We get to talk Kabbalah because it's my birthday. You see. Nice. I'm excited. Today's a good day. My favorite topics. One of my favorite brothers sitting here with me, and all of our favorite people listening. I think it should be a very good conversation, because not only is it Kabbalah, but it's also with regards to the fellowcraft degree and other different things that we discuss in Masonry that most people do not know where the dots are connected, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kabbalah is the mystic school of Judaism. And when you're talking about Kabbalah, what is the very first thing that you think about when you think about Kabbalah?
The tree of life.
The tree of life. Exactly. If you look at this is the tree of life, and you look at the top three spheres right there,
Mhm.
and that's considered the essence of God that you will never get to understand here on earth. And the second level below that, now you got to do away with that dot back in the middle because that's not actually part of Kabbalah. That's an end result of knowledge that comes from the understanding of Kabbalah. So it's not a true Sephiroth.
Which one? That
The,
one?
yes, that one, that one. So now we're going to skip that for now. We'll get to that in a little while. So the three that's underneath that, the next triad is like the manifestation world. So let's think of yourself. So Keter, that's the light from God. That's like a solid beam of white light coming down and shooting through Kabbalah, right? So once you get to Keter, once you get to the top three, you're actually one with God. Right underneath that is that understanding that I was talking about. The knowledge of all things Kabbalah is dot that's in the middle. And that's actually where we get to before we cross over into death and into becoming one with God. Now, if you're looking at it from the top down, you're looking at a manifestation of creation from the top down. So if the top is God, it works its way from being all light to being a manifested thought. And then the next three are going to be like a manifested reality. And then the very bottom, Malkut, that's us here in the present. That's the physical world. So you're going from the infinite at the very top down to the finite, which is down where we are right here. The top is going to be the macrocosm. The bottom is going to be the microcosm. As above, so below. The manifestation of all being, soul, everything that is in existence, all comes top down, right?
Mhm.
Now we know how top down management goes. It usually doesn't work out too well. Not just kidding, but really that's kind of how it is. So basically, you're going from a oneness with God to where there really is no understanding of existence in that point. You're just with God, right? So you don't even know that you're with God. You're so with God. So then go right below that, and that's when you kind of understand that you're getting close to God, and then below that, the further away you are from God. But you're still with God. That's what the Kabbalah represents. You're still with God, but it's a matter of things coming into existence, coming from nothingness to everythingness, if that makes sense. It's
So
the
where
everything. It's the everythingology, man.
so where on the tree is outside of God?
Well, now here's something that I don't really like the way that they describe this. So in this white light, there nothing can actually be within this white light. So God has to step aside, and then the particles contract. Then the non-existence contracts and creates existence. That's kind of how they interpret that. That with God being all present so intensely that creation wasn't really possible with that one white light, that he actually had to step aside and allow creation to happen by getting himself out of the way, or getting itself out of the way. It allowed creation to happen.
That makes no sense.
Okay, so when we're talking about that white light, the infinite light, right? That's Ein Sof. That's the infinite light. And then, so in essence, God stems from that white light.
Well, just where I was going
Uh,
with this is God to theoretically step aside. That would have to imply there is something outside of God for God to step aside to, which
right,
is not
right, and
possible.
exactly, and that's why I don't agree with it. Right, I don't really agree with that theory. However, this is one theory of creation. Right, that's the way that most Jewish rabbis think in regards to creation, that the Ein Sof is this white light that's just so broad and powerful that nothing could happen except this. It's almost like a laser beam, that it's so intense that nothing could live within that space. So it had to like dim itself to allow creation to happen, if that makes sense.
I understand the fiction. That makes sense.
Well,
Like
there's always a story, right? It's all
yeah,
about allegory, right?
yeah. There's always I know there's always an attempt at some kind of rationale. I understand.
Right.
You can
So,
rationale
and
anything.
right, right. So, where does this tie into masonry? First, let's go into the three pillars. If you look at the tree of life, the spheres, which are called the Sephiroth, on the right hand side, that's the pillar of wisdom. The pillar on the left hand side is your pillar of strength, which is also, if you think about it, it's Jachin and Boaz
Hmm.
from our lodge, and then the one in the middle is beauty, right? Because that's balance. The beauty comes from the balance in the world. So in looking at the tree, so since I've already opened up this can of worms, the circles, the spheres there are the Sephiroth. The pathways in the middle are considered mystical pathways, and each one of them are represented with a letter of the Jewish alphabet. And each one of those letters is also assigned a number. It starts with a G. The gematria, gem, gematria.
Yeah, gematria, the
Yeah.
numbers
So
associated with words, with letters.
yes. So those are the numbers that are associated with the words when it comes to all the, or those are the numbers that are associated with the letters when it comes to the Jewish alphabet. And then when you line up those different letters, you add those numbers up and they create a certain holy number or something like that. And then you can see different characteristics of different words that they say are holier together than because they both equal the same amount of numbers, whatever.
Hmm.
They both add up to the same. So that's part of one of the things that Jewish brothers and Jewish scholars they look at when they're looking at different words in the Bible or in the Torah and whatnot, because they're looking for the relevance of the numbers as well. It's not just about the letters themselves, which is kind of interesting. Kabbalah, it comes from the letters Q, B, and L in a row, which seems like Cabal because the letter system, the alphabet for Judaism, it does not have vowels. And so you kind of have to ad lib your vowels in anything. That's why when you talk about the name of God, people say Yahweh or Jehovah or whatever, because they're putting in vowels to go with the consonants that are there that have been written down. So I want to step back for just a second. Think about if you saw all these spheres kind of in a spiral and connected to each other at the same time, as if it was like let's say if you cut a tree and you look at the tree on the inside and you see all the rings for all the years that tree has been alive. Um, let's say that in the rings represent Kabbalah, right? So that white light that is so strong and so powerful, let's say in this other example, that white light shoots through the bark straight to the center of this tree, this Kabbalistic tree, right? So you have this little wedge that's cut out, or this little strip that's cut out of this wedge, of this round circle, right? Now, the way that the Jewish people see that, and what we're trying to do on this earth, our whole reason for existence is the white light, or God, that penetrates and busts up Kabbalah right there and creates these particles of energy. That those particles, that's what actually creates everything, right? That's what's created this existence. It's the that's where your souls come from. It's where people come from. It's where the angels come from. It's where everything in existence, everything in the story comes from those particles falling apart.
Is that
And so
emanation, or am I thinking of something else?
I think that is.
Okay.
So well, no, that's not emanation.
Okay. It seemed like I'd heard that in association with Kabbalah, maybe with stuff that I read, but
Maybe,
I don't remember where that fit in.
right. Well, emanation is the very top three of the tree of life. That it's called Absolute, or I don't know how to say the words. I should probably learn how to say the words before I talk about it. But that's in my terms, you're right. It's emanation. That's the bright light of God. But what happened is, let's say that light shoots through to the core of Kabbalah, and it creates these fragments of everything energy that created all of life, created this finite existence. And our job in life is basically to piece together all those particles and figure out how they fit back together to put it back into that spherical piece of wood that was busted apart. So let's think of our journey in life as like if we were glue and we were creating a particle board of wood to put back in that wedge to complete the puzzle of Kabbalah, right? That's our job, is to figure out where everything fits together, how it all fits together.
Interesting.
So now we'll go back, because I like that interpretation, because it's different than the tree of life. The tree of life is I love it. It's in your face, but it really doesn't help with the understanding of why it zigzags back and forth like a serpent. So if you think of it as all of it being spherical, kind of like this, kind of like a tornado going down, and with all spheres touching and all paths touching, but going down into a circle, and that beam of light shooting down into the middle of it, and then breaking apart particles, then it kind of helps to understand that just a little bit better. If you were to look at it like if you shaved a piece of it and then looked at it in a microscope, that's what you would see, is it would have that little wedge in there, and then you would have to piece it all together to put it back together. Kind of like DNA. So if you had a string of DNA and you were trying to piece it back together to form this animal that was in existence years ago, that you lost a couple of the millions of pieces of DNA that make up that animal, then trying to put in little pieces to make that animal whole again. That's kind of the way it would look.
Let's now back to full screen. I was gonna show this real quick, so I'll put it back. But so you were talking about the pillars, right?
Right.
As a Jockin, and here we have the high priestess with you can't tell because of just how small it is, but she's holding the Torah, So
right.
it all,
Well,
and
and
I know you
it's
said you could link it with tarot if you wanted
okay.
to.
Now put it back up. Put it back up. Now, if you notice, the Torah is also underneath that the veil right there.
The
Part
veil.
of it, it's only partially shown.
Oh yeah.
That means that the Torah is not the entire truth. The Torah is basically just the rules of how to get there.
Hmm.
It's the rules on how to do the good deeds that are basically going to get us to oneness with God.
Well,
That's what the Torah is.
speaking of Torah, so you have the Wheel of Fortune, and you got the
Oh,
words, the letters Taro. So if you go clockwise, you have
right.
Tiro. But if you go counterclockwise, you have Tora, a Torah.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize it. So just like the tree of life, you can apply a bunch of different um, schools of a bunch of different mystery schools to the tree of life and create connection within the pieces,
Mhm.
just like you can with Kabbalah, and that's why it's such a great tool for understanding different schools of thought. But the tarot was actually designed specifically the to interpret Kabbalah
Isn't that
specifically.
weird how the thing is, like when we talked about this in a recent episode, how different fields of esoterica coincide. That's because there's truth to these things, and truth always validates itself, if that makes sense. So you'll look at something esoteric, and then you'll study something else esoteric, and you realize, hey, there are relationships here. These things coincide. There's parallels. Well, there's a reason for that. There's nothing coincidental in existence. There's no
Right,
such thing as coincidence.
right. Well, and what's interesting, and this is something that I'm writing about in this paper, which will go into the book, is that the all of the mystery schools, the ancient mystery schools, were all trying to uh, interpret the journey to God, to oneness
Mhm.
with God, right? It wasn't until we started putting the priestly management in place that that our faith became a hierarchy that was meant to control the people.
Mhm. It used to be meant to enlighten the people.
Yes, yes. Well, and as a matter of fact, for years they didn't allow it was it was Greek translated into Latin so that the people couldn't understand it. In fact, the first person to write the Bible in English was burned at the stake. In fact, they the he was I can't remember his name for the life of me. I'm not good with names. That's why, guys, I'm not a ritualist because I don't remember words. I'm more of this guy that tries to help put things together on the back end of it. But anyways, this priest, he translated it from Latin back from Latin to English so that the population could read it, and he was burned at the stake. But because they people had a lot of respect for him, they actually choked him on the stake before he burned alive, so that he would be put out of his misery. Interesting how he would be choked and
Miles
unable
Coverdale.
unable to speak. Yes, Miles Cover. Yes, so he was the first one. He was the first one. So go ahead.
I'm not sure that I'm ready to say this yet. Let's see. 1536 was when he died. And just look up one more thing real quick.
Go right ahead. If you
Yeah,
can
it's so
correct me, please
15.
do.
No, 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 no. I'm not trying to correct you. It's
No,
just
no, I'm messing.
so he died 1536. And then just a little over 100 years later, we'd be entering the Enlightenment period. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
just weird how there's no, and where I was going to go with this is that this is part of the reason that all the Masons that met during the Enlightenment period. This is why Freemasonry had that veil of secrecy,
Well,
because 100 years
and
before, not even 100 years
yes,
really, people were getting
yes.
killed for printing things.
Well, it was way back to the 11th and 12th century, if you want to get down to it. I mean, it was all through the Dark Ages.
Mhm.
I mean, that's why the Templar were considered a threat, because they were enlightened. And why were they enlightened? Because they went to the Holy Land and they figured this stuff out. They weren't supposed to understand Kabbalah, but guess who did understand it? The people that were in that land.
Well, classical religions had mystery schools associated with them. It was
Yes,
part of it, right? And the Templars, I mean, sure, they're Catholic, but they went to the Holy Land and they picked up these um these initiatic practices themselves. Probably
right.
heavily influenced from mystery schools, either what they experienced when they went there or what they discovered when they researched what they found. But I mean, what we're talking about here, the Kabbalah, that is a mystery school. In
Oh
in
yeah, it absolutely was. In
Judaism is a
fact,
very old religion.
yeah, in fact, in its own religion, you weren't allowed to learn about Kabbalah until you were 40 years old, married, had children. You had to be an established person. You basically had to be um, you had to be well founded enough in life that it just wouldn't completely rock your world. That was why you had to meet all these different, in my opinion, that's why you had to meet all these different rules. Well, plus they just like rules. I don't know why they like rules. But you had to know all this stuff, but you had to have experienced all this life before you could understand the meaning of life. And it makes sense. If I had really delved into this when I was 20 years old, I would sound as stupid as half the people on the internet right now that
Mhm.
talk about it, because they really don't understand what they're talking about. And to some degree, you can take bits and pieces of this stuff and and piece something together. I mean, look at us. Look at what I'm doing here. Yeah, it's not like I'm a rocket scientist. I'm not that smart, but I was able to piece this stuff together. But I didn't understand this until recently. It didn't really click until recently, even though I had all the tools in front of me for the past umpteen years. It finally just freaking clicked, and it really hadn't clicked to the point to where I can explain it as easily as some of our other scholars within Freemason.
Well, it's kind of a big, we discussed this when Brother Reyna came on our show. We were talking a little bit about Kabbalah. And that's a big hurdle for me and probably for a lot of people, is that it's so, I mean, it is Judaism, right? It is the skeleton of the Jewish belief system. It's what everything comes from. But if you don't, and you talked about like the Hebrew letters and things, if you don't understand, I mean, I don't know if you saw the picture with the words on it. If you don't understand Hebrew, and not just Hebrew, but aspects of the culture, it's really
Right.
it can be difficult, right? Especially if you pick up a book that just assumes you know these things, which is a lot
Right.
of them.
Right. So now that we've kind of connected the dots between Masonry and Kabbalah a little bit, because ultimately Freemasonry is the journey of the temple, of rebuilding the temple, right? And in essence, that's what Kabbalah really is. It's the well, number one, when you take the meaning from the dictionary, it's uh it's basically a spoken interpretation, right? It's um it's almost like it as if it was mouth to ear or something like that. But you know, but Kabbalah means to interpret. So which is kind of, we can go into another little tidbit here that I would like to talk about with the Bible in general. You hear about all these prophets and all this in the Bible. Prophets were not prophetic as in fortune tellers in the Bible. Prophets were interpreters. Prophets were able to read. Look at Daniel. His whole his whole claim to fame was that he could understand and interpret dreams. That's what made him prophetic, right? Mm-hmm. And so now they try to romance it in these books of the Bible and try to make you think that it's all prophecy as far as the future, but that's not necessarily true. And that's also when you look at the book of Ezekiel and apply that same logic, then you realize that Ezekiel is talking about a specific region in the Middle East that had these issues going on and
Dude,
went through
the
these trials.
I'm sorry.
Revelation.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's
right.
exactly
So
what that is.
So the whole thing is, though, is and what's interesting is that that's the one book that was put in at the end of everything because it creates fear because of the unknown, because not everybody is a prophet, right? Not everybody can interpret. So if you want to think about it in one way, Masonry is trying to develop prophets. It's trying to develop people that can interpret meaning behind the words. And so our journey in life, really as Masons, it should be to interpret meaning behind the words so that we can help the world, help enlighten the world. Because the rest of the world is closed off to the darkness, and it's our job to spread the light, right? Illumination. There's that word. It was bound to come up. It was bound to come.
And there's nothing evil or unchristian or ungodly about what you're suggesting because reality follows certain rules, certain patterns. There's a certain cyclicality, if that's even a word, to the way everything happens. And a lot of these prophets you're talking about, it's a matter of just looking at what's happening and letting God or the universe speak to them. But a lot of it's like, okay, this is happening, and sure, I'm sure they did their tea leaves or they did their cards or went and fasted, did prayer, reflected on it or anything. But a lot of it is if you have the right mindset, if you're open, it doesn't matter what your medium is, because I mean it could be like a lot of people like tarot now, or some people like Ouija boards. Some people they have some other kind of divination they like to do, like pendulums or crystals or fasting and prayer or whatever.
Well, yeah, insert ritual here, because the ritual is there to prepare your mind and spirit for the message. It's the same thing with us, with our opening and closing of our lodges, with the things that we teach people through ritual. It's all to in order to prepare our minds and spirits to be able to receive the message. That's exactly what you're describing. And it doesn't matter. Like, you're right. Some people did it with tea leaves, chicken bones, whatever. Whatever it takes for that person to prepare their mind and body to receive the message from God, then that's what it took.
And it didn't matter what they called God.
Yeah, who are we to call it a cult? Just because it doesn't follow in what mainstream says it should be, that's not up to us to decide. Now, if they're hurting people, killing children, whatever, I'm not down with that. I just want to make that very clear in this message. I'm not down with sacrifice. But if you're smoking a little herb and taking a little mushrooms to get closer to God, by all means, do what makes you feel good, man.
Well, that's what all the old schools did.
That's right. It's not for me to judge. Even the even oh golly, what's that movie with the kids, Young Guns? Even the Young Guns ate peyote to see their path, right?
So it's since you mentioned it, I mean, we were talking about like the different religions and having the different mediums to interpret the way things are happening, right? That was a huge medium. That was a huge component of all these
Oh yeah.
mystery schools. This idea of incense being carried around by
Oh
a
yeah.
prepubescent boy swinging around. It
Yes.
wasn't always just
Yes.
made to smell nice, right? It might have smelled nice, but it had
Yeah.
other things burning
That's why
in
you would
there.
go like this, and yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't just it wasn't just
Well,
to have the spirit roll over you. It was to roll into you and
roll
through
into the spirit,
you,
but
into you and through you.
but it would
Yes.
also like a lot of them wouldn't necessarily have something like that, but like ayahuasca, right? You
Right.
fast, so you have nothing on your stomach. And we're talking about like for the ritual, like not just like people that fly to South America and do it for
Right.
ritual,
Right.
but like you would fast and you I mean there'd be nothing on your stomach, and not just ayahuasca, but there's other things like that, and you would
Yeah.
ingest something, and I mean
Yes.
it hits you hard and fast, and I mean and that took the rituals, whatever you did, and it took it to
It heightened it.
it was equivalent to putting on like VR goggles, right? Because it puts you in a different place. You saw things that weren't there. You heard things that weren't there. You heard things that were there, right? But
Right.
they were heightened and they were enhanced and distorted somewhat. It was probably scary, but also very spiritual at the same time.
Right, right. Well, it's the ebb and flow. It's the good and evil. It's the balance that creates that equilibrium. So let's now that we've gone into this huge rabbit hole that only a fat bunny like we have in my house would fit in. Let's get back on the track a little bit and get back to where this relates to Freemasonry. So very first and foremost, we've got the three pillars, and like I stated earlier, the one on the right side is wisdom, the one on the left side is strength, and the one in the middle is beauty. So we all know that King Solomon was the representative of wisdom. We know that Hiram, king of Tyre, was the representative of strength, and we know that Hiram Abiff, the widow's son, is the representative of beauty. Now, this also represents you as you're walking through the pillars as you first enter the lodge. You're standing there as the initiate. You represent that balance. You are that balance within the two pillars as you're walking into the lodge. Now, another thing that we also want to reference, since we are referencing Solomon, Hiram, and Hiram Abiff, is the wisdom portion represents the master of the lodge, the east. The strength portion represents the Hiram, king of Tyre. That's the west, and then the beauty represents the junior warden, which is the south. Um,
And
if you've ever seen, go ahead.
not to derail this too much, but for anyone that is knowledgeable of the master's lecture, this is how they are referred to towards the end. Talk about how
Yes.
Hiram Abiff strengthened Solomon. Talks about the wisdom of Solomon. How I'm sorry, by not Hiram Abiff, Hiram King of Tyre strengthened Solomon, and then of how Hiram Abiff beautified everything that was done. So this isn't just some connecting two dots kind of thing. It's very blatantly pointed out. Of course, the words are different. I'm not going to quote ritual on here, but it's very blatantly pointed out in the ritual that this is what they represent.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then on some of the pillars in some of the lodges, you'll see the globes on the top, the celestial and the terrestrial. And I've spoken it before that that's actually, it helps to remind you that when you pass through those pillars, you're walking from the terrestrial to the celestial. So that journey that you make through those pillars is you walking into the infinite from the finite. So you're basically traveling through Kabbalah as you head towards um, understanding or knowledge. Now, if you take the and I wanted to do this real quick because we're talking about knowledge. I wanted to make this reference. So if you start at the top of, can you put that tree of life back up for me?
Certainly.
And then that way I can explain to them what.
There we go.
Okay, so when you're traveling through from infinite to finite, right? You're going from all knowing, or actually unknowing, to understanding, then to manifestation, and then to reality. So when you're passing down through there, so you're going to go from Keter to what is that, Chakma? I'm telling you, I'm not very good at this. And then
Chachma.
Chachma, yeah. And then you're going to go over to Bina, and then you'll go to Chesed, and then what is that? Din? I can't see it. Okay, and I don't have all the words memorized. And then from there, it goes diagonal down to Tiferet, and then to
Nikech.
What is it? Nikech.
Yeah.
And then over to Hod, and then to Jasad, and then down to Malkut. So in that pattern, that's where you get the snake, the representative of the snake within Kabbalah. And what's interesting is when you read the book of Genesis, and you read about the snake in the garden, the snake in the original translation was knowledge. The snake was the knowledge. And so that snake going through Kabbalah like that only makes sense because it's referenced in the original, in the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible is Torah, which is where everything is set up, all the rules and regulations of the faith. It's in there, and that's one of your first representations of the snake. And then also later on, you've got the snake represented with Moses when he takes his people out of Egypt and he throws his staff down, it becomes a snake and eats the snake of the Pharaoh. It's basically saying my knowledge is more powerful than your knowledge. My understanding of God is more powerful than your understanding of God. And so his God swallows up the other. That's kind of the representation that you see there in that one passage. That's something that I really liked about that. Now, while we got this picture up before we take it back down, so you've got your 10 Sephiroth, and then you've got your mystic or magical or mystic pathways, and that's where you would see your different letters of the alphabet. There's 22 letters in Hebrew. There's 22 Hebrew letters, and there's 10 Sephiroth in the actual tree of life in Kabbalah, which represents 32. What's interesting is Dot is a 33rd sphere that pops up, but Dot represents the understanding of all the rest of them combined. So you really aren't ready for the knowledge of the 33rd degree until you understand all the rest of it and how it relates to each other in your personal journey. Interesting, huh?
That's very interesting. How
Yeah.
about that?
You're welcome. So, all right. So now we can jump off of this. I want to minimize this because I want to get to one of my notes that I had earlier.
Sure. There we go.
There we go. That so you have your wisdom and your strength. The wisdom is also tied in with mercy, and strength is severity, and then the beauty is the equilibrium, like we talked about before. That's also your positive and negative poles, right? Not necessarily in good or bad reference, but just positive and negative poles in life, which you know creates balance. The positive and negatives, the yin and yang, insert whatever here, and ultimately the goal is, because you are that middle pillar there, the goal is to be able to understand where you are in any one moment in time, and be able to identify the sphere and the path along that sphere to determine how close you are to equilibrium in your life or within whatever instance you're in. That's why they say that, because the tarot is a roadmap to Kabbalah. That's why they say that the tarot can answer certain questions if you lay out the roadmap properly. Then it can answer certain questions, because then you look at, okay, this is my problem and this is my problem, 1 and 2. So if it's going here and then here, then the next logical step is here. What brings it to equilibrium? That's my solution. It's not necessarily a prophetic, fortune teller type of thing. It's more of a, how do I find the solution to this problem kind of thing. That, I think that's a more realistic way of looking at tarot, and not looking at it as a fortune teller kind of hokey pokey thing, even though there is talks of how to do that kind of stuff, but it's not, that's not what we're alluding to here.
Well, you could
So,
do it with just a regular deck of playing cards. I've sat with people that have done that. So,
well, yeah, that's because the playing cards are based off the tarot.
well, that's true.
I mean, look at them. I mean, you got your king down to your jack, and then the 1 through 10 cards is the exact same in the tarot cards.
Yeah. You had
So,
spades or swords, diamonds or pinnacles. Trying to remember the other ones were, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's
which ones are the puppy feet? Okay, so that's great that you say that, because now people can say, "Oh, I always wondered where cards came from." Well, there you go. Now, so you can actually play poker with tarot if you want to. That'd be a fun poker night. see
be
see who
interesting.
can actually win, and what they win with. That's what I'd like to see.
Your fortune says
Okay.
you're going to lose all your money.
Right, exactly. Okay, so now let's tie this into the fellowcraft just a little. So, in our journey from the infinite to the finite, that's the macro to the micro. But in our journey, we're going from the micro to the macro, right? And so our journey up the stairways are actually trying to take us to emanation. So if you look at the stairway of the fellowcraft, and you look at Kabbalah, so the top 3 spheres are considered absolute. That's emanation, as you said before. The middle 3, or the ones just below that, not including dot, because dot doesn't count. Um, the middle three are Bria, that's creation. That's where emanation takes the all encompassing infinite, and then it turns into a thought, a a a thought of higher proportions, right?
Hmm.
It goes from emanation to creation, because it was out of the word that the world and heavens and earth were created, right? That's it went from emanation to creation by thought, because words are nothing but thought in syllable form, right? Or in it's pronunciated thought is what a word is. So you go from emanation to creation, and then underneath that is formation. That's Yetzirah. And then underneath that is Asaya, which is basically action. So it takes the ultimate, the creator, to into creation, into manifestation or formation, into action. So those are the rungs of the ladder for Jacob's ladder. Now,
Interesting.
now, so if you start at the bottom, you're an EA. That's the material world. You're a material girl in a material world. You take that first step. Now, in formation, that's where you're a fellow craft, because you have to, if you don't understand all the liberal arts and sciences, how are you going to understand how to manifest whatever you want in life, right? So we've already discussed this in a different show, that we're able to manifest anything we want in life if we have the tools to do it. But we have to have that understanding. So we first have to have that knowledge. So if we don't understand all the liberal arts and sciences and the math that goes behind that, how are we going to manifest any type of reality from our thoughts, right?
Hmm.
So now we move up the ladder one more rung up to the master mason. Don't fall asleep on me. It's not time yet.
I'm not. My contacts are messing with me.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to edit that out, because it definitely looks like you're falling asleep on me. So now, as a master mason, you're into creation. You're into, that's where the designs are laid upon the trestle. So it goes from thought, from divine thought, into a plan of action, right? So you're designing the that's where the trestle board is. That's where your sanctum sanctorum is. So now look at these three. So you're looking at the checker pavement down at the bottom. You're on the outside of King Solomon's temple. Then you move to the inside, and you're going up the stairway, the winding stairway, I should say.
Hmm.
Why would it be winding? Have you ever seen a winding stairway?
I think it's symbolic. Whenever you hear like a winding road, it alludes to something
A
that's
journey.
it's a journey. It's difficult. It has
Or a serpent.
tests that you'll come across, or serpent. Nice. Yeah.
so now we go from the staircase into the sanctum sanctorum, where everything happens, right? Now, where does that divine inspiration come from? From emanation, which is housed in the holies of holies, in the where the Ten Commandments were laid, where the Spirit of God was thought to be, which is, come on, Justin, stay with me.
Sanctum Sanctorum.
No, what's in the sanctum sanctorum? What
The
did
Ark
they
of the
carry
Covenant.
across the desert?
The
What did
Ark of
they
the Covenant.
carry? Do what?
The Ark of the Covenant.
Yes, yes. So the ark was supposedly, what housed the Spirit of God. If you cracked open and saw the Word of God in there, it would blind you, right? So nobody opened it. Who knew if there was just a couple of rocks in there or if it was the Ten Commandments? Because everybody was afraid to open it because if they saw God, they would surely go blind because if they spoke his name or its name, they would blow up. So
Can I share a quick interesting theory about that?
please do. Please do.
It was it was observed by people that have studied ancient history that gods are always local to the people, right? Um, they all had their different deities, and it was relative to the culture of the people there. Like some gods were stronger than others, but anyway, the theory was that the Ark of the Covenant actually did house God, and
Right.
it actually, I say physical, but who knows what like God is, but it actually physically was the house for him to move from Egypt to where they settled, right?
Right. As
Because
long as
gods
they
were
had the Ark of
regional.
the Covenant with them, they would win any war, right?
Yeah, yeah. Now I don't really think that you can contain God in a covenant or anything like that, but it's an interesting thought.
Right. Right. So going back down the rungs real quick. Um, so emanation, that's where you're one with God, in essence. You don't even know you're one with God because you're all in with God. You're just all in all, right?
Mhm.
You're in the all in all. Um, then go down into creation. That's in Bria. That's that's where all thoughts take shape. Creation started in that era right there. Um, and that's also where it kind of makes sense that the old saying goes that you're not going to die until it's time, right? Until your
Mhm.
time. And people say that uh they did their work, they finished their work when they die.
Yeah.
So in that very moment is where in that very moment of death, and that's where you also hear people talk about seeing the light and this and that, whether that's emanations from your brain, the electricity in your brain or what have you, who knows. But that's the very moment that you would understand creation. Death would be the very moment you would understand creation.
One
So
thing. Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I don't want to go too off on a tangent, but I think death, and I'm not talking about like a near death experience. I'm talking about like actual death
Right.
is when you're reunited with the Godhead, right? Or whatever you want to call it. And so yeah, you understand, you see everything you've experienced. You understand a whole lot. And then when you come back, that's when you forget it again.
Right. Well, I don't even know if you're directly connected with the Godhead, in my opinion, because I think there's still energy to leave your body before you're completely connected with the Godhead. No, I do understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but me
Well,
personally, I think it takes time to do that because it takes time for your total spirit to leave your body because you still got all kinds of energy in you until your body decomposes,
no,
right?
I agree. And that's kind of a concept of that. I didn't go like a whole lot of detail, but yeah, the longer you spend wherever this is, at the source or whatever you want to call it, before coming back, if you believe reincarnation, the longer you spend there, the more you start to remember about the other lives and things like I guess as that energy from Earth
The,
leaves
the
you and you
transference,
spend more
right?
time reuniting with everything, with all, then you start getting more memories and everything like that. But also to say the longer you spend there, implies that there's a concept of time at that point, which,
Right, right.
but yeah,
Time is so human.
yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting concept. I'm not sure that, I don't know. I don't like, I don't think there's really, because time is a human construct, right? But I don't know. I don't know. I don't disagree, but I'm not sure that time is something, and maybe that's why I'm having a hard time because no pun intended. But time as we understand it isn't as you would understand it in that existence, right? It's not to
Well,
say there's not some facet of it, but you're not like counting years or anything like that.
let's look at it this way, which is the next point I was going to make. So moving from formation to creation, right? From those two different sections of the ladder, right?
Mhm.
Formation in the Yetzirah, that's when your feelings are applied. So when you're moving from formation to creation, there's not a whole lot of feelings going on towards the earth. Right? You're those feelings are fading fast because you're going into the light, right?
Yeah.
So so I think you're as you transform into that, and you lose the feeling portion of the human intellect, then yeah, you definitely move into that space that you're talking about to where you no longer recognize time because I think time is what creates a lot of emotion.
Mhm.
And
I
the
thi-
closer you get to God, the less you care about time. You lose track of time when the closer you are to God.
I think that's also why there's no sadness in the afterlife because
Yeah.
once 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 you're gone, you realize there's no such thing as time, and we're all united, right? And so it's like
Yeah,
we still
we're
miss
all one
them.
with emanation. Yes.
Yeah, but from a point of true understanding, looking back, you're like that's I'll see them again soon, right? And really we never have been apart anyway.
Right.
Um, even when we're sitting next to each other, we never have been apart. We've always been one. And so I think that's why they say there's no sadness in death. There's a sense of peace because all the things that we worry about here don't apply anymore.
Right. They're out the window.
Yeah.
And that's why our journey is to become more closely attuned to God.
Mhm.
You know, we will find peace on this earth the closer we are to the afterlife.
It reminds me of going back to the master's lecture again, but there's a part where it talks about the inevitable when we all die, right? And lecture's not even my favorite degree. I don't know why I'm talking about it so much tonight, but talking about greeting death as a instead of being afraid of it, greeting it as a kind messenger. Because when you have gotten to the point like what we're talking about, you're not crying and like shaking and going into that going into the next world with no grace, right? With no dignity because you have led a reflective life, which is why I think this fear of the skull is really does more harm than good in Freemasonry because a part of a healthy life, as crazy as it sounds, is reflecting on death, right?
Right.
And understanding the things that we're talking about. So when it does come, you're not terrified of this unknown. You understand that this is just something that frankly has always happened and that you have done before and will do many more times. It's just part of a cycle. It's no scarier than going from spring into summer or fall into winter. It's just part of everything.
Well, and along with that, even if we're talking about just this one life, as we move up the tree, up Jacob's ladder, the closer we get to God, the less interested we are in the mundane.
Mhm.
The less interested, and here's the kicker right here, the less interested we are in the struggle. The struggle is fueled by emotions. The struggle is what, now, granted, it does create meaning to our lives to some degree, but that struggle is also what prevents us. It's the love for the struggle that prevents us from being close to God.
Mhm.
If in my opinion, if you want to know what separates us from God, it was not this eternal damnation occurred from Adam of all people. No,
That guy. Oh,
that guy,
that guy.
that girl, it was that heathen Jezebel that was with him. It wasn't her either. It's us. It's our own love for the struggle. It's our own love for that chaos in life that separates us from God.
Mhm. We all like the
Peace and
tea, right? When that came around, the tea, we all like that.
you're right. I'll be right
But
back. Yes,
if
I'm
you
listening.
really want to see if someone is a wise person, you look at them when there's drama going on, because they are the calm in the storm.
Yes,
They're unaffected, they are unbothered and uninvolved in the drama.
right.
Those are the wisest people. Everybody likes the
I,
tea. So I mean, I admit I was in there. I'm far from being wise, but
that's
uh,
for sure. Finally, people, you heard it here tonight. I finally got it out of it. I am definitely wiser than he
I'm
is.
editing that out. I'm gonna edit it out.
Yeah,
But to your point, like the wisest people avoid drama. And
yeah,
not only do
absolutely.
they avoid it, drama has no interest in them, if that makes sense. They don't have to avoid it because drama does not come their way.
Well, what is peace and harmony?
Doing whatever you have to do to not make other people angry, even if it costs you your lodge. Is that
Oh,
how it
hell no.
is?
Hell no. Peace and harmony is equilibrium. Peace and harmony is, it seems like somewhere, maybe it was in the Monitor that I read one time, where it talks about being disinterested. Maybe, I don't know. Just call me silly. It might just be in the Monitor, and I think it came from Lightfoot's Monitor as well. But somewhere in there, it talks about being disinterested. Why would you want to be disinterested? You ready to move on?
Wow.
You tired of me patting myself on the back here?
Hey, it's your birthday.
It's my birthday. You can cry if I want you
Wow.
to. All right. So real quick though, because we really haven't touched on this a whole lot, just so people have an idea of what each one of these spheres kind of represents. Now we talked about the Godhead up at the top. That's considered the crown, right?
Mhm.
Peter is considered the crown. Um, the the first one that you would go to from there, Chokma, Chokma. No, it's not Chalk Mountain.
Choctaw.
It's not Choctaw.
I
It's not Choctaw Casino. There is
I
no
just feel like
wisdom.
Sean's watching this episode and just cringing every time we say
Right.
anything.
We love you, Sean. We always have. We always will. As goofy as you are. So if you're going down from the crown, like I said earlier, you're taking a zigzag. It's like a serpent type maneuver that you're doing. So you go down from the crown and it goes down to wisdom, right? So right underneath God is wisdom. Right when you become wise, you become one with God and you don't remember any of it ever again. Isn't that convenient,
Mhm.
right? Have this mystical school that you just forget everything. Okay, so You go from wisdom down to uh, bina, which is understanding. It's kind of interesting how they make the masculine side wisdom and make the feminine side understanding, because it truly is that way within our just makeup of our intellect and our feelings in life in general too. And as we go, you'll see a lot more. I'm not going to point them out from this point on, but you'll see a lot more, for instances. Okay, so from there it goes from understanding to kindness. Kindness is on it's chesed, kindness.
Just it. Okay.
And yeah, that's kindness. And then it goes over to Gevura or Gevura,
From
which is,
Chesed?
yeah. So chesed, it shoots across, straight across from chesed, from kindness. It shoots straight across to Gevura, which happens to be judgment.
Mine has
So,
din straight across from Chesed. Oh, from Chesed, right? Going
yeah.
left.
Well, that may be another word for it,
Yeah, I was
another
gonna say maybe it's just a
interpretation.
different translation or something.
So what's interesting, so wisdom and understanding balance each other, right? They're two different kinds of intellect, right? And they balance each other out. So wisdom thinks with less of the heart and more with the mind. Understanding thinks more with the heart and less of the mind, and so they balance each other out. That's where your equilibrium comes. Now look down here at Chesed and Yavura or Dina, and you've got kindness and judgment. Again, on the masculine side, you got kindness. On the feminine side, you've got judgment. But there's your balance. There's your balance. There's your equilibrium. And out of that, right there, as part of that, that triad there, it's Teferet, which is beauty. That's the beauty sphere. That's the beauty Teferet is Teferet.
Mhm.
And that comes from kindness and judgment. So with good judgment and kindness, you really get the pureness of beauty manifested, right? And then it goes from there, from beauty. So it's going diagonal at this point, from judgment down to victory. Netzach.
Okay.
I'm not going to say what it really sounds like, but Netzach, Netzach is which I'm probably mispronunciating, but that's victory, man. That's
You're doing
victory.
a great job.
Victory. Oh man, it's late, but I hope you guys enjoy this as you're listening to this, and I hope you're learning something for real. I'm not making fun of God or Kabbalah. I love Kabbalah, and you know it is going to get us closer if we pay attention to what we're doing.
What did you say Tiferet was?
Tefra is beauty, beauty,
Interesting.
which is really the heart of that whole column right there. So the heart of the right column is wisdom, and the heart of the other column is strength, which really it could be in this next one. So we go from victory straight across to glory, hud, glory. So if you think about it, glory is it's an earthly trait because it's down on towards the bottom, right? So it's really attributed to the earth. And so glory in essence could be considered kinsman to or kinswoman to strength.
Interesting.
So now and then you go down from there to Yesod, and that's foundation. So that's the foundation of all things is that lower triad, and then you drop down to kingdom, which is Malkut, which is where we are. That's us in action. Well, actually, that third triad down at the bottom, the foundation, victory, and glory. That's your that's your action right there.
Can I
Yeah.
beat a dead
1,
horse?
2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Can I beat a dead horse real quick?
Go ahead.
So I would encourage anybody. I don't want to pull it up on here because I don't want to minimize this. I would encourage anyone to go to like Wikipedia and pull up the Tree of Life, and we're gonna look at this again together real quick. Because here, no.
It's funny how you ease it up.
Because you have here. I'm just gonna do this. Let's see if I can do this without.
Go right ahead.
You have Keter right here. See this flower,
Right.
and then you have Dat at the crown of her head.
Right.
Beauty is this cross. But if you look on each side of her also, you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2,
Right.
3. You said just at his foundation, sitting on this stone bench. But also you have the which is interesting is you have strength and beauty, but they have colors associated with them. So and I
Well,
believe
there's
you would have
colors.
told me
There's
this,
actually colors associated with every sphere in Kabbalah.
but you pointed out to me before, there's no every color, every design on this
Has
deck
meaning.
has meaning. And it's no
Yes.
coincidence. If you look at the Tree of Life, you got Keter at the top, and then you have 3 on each side, and you have the pillars associated with. And there's no coincidence that she has this sphere right here where that would
Right.
be.
Well,
And
you
then
know what? You know who also has
who?
that sphere, don't you?
Who's that?
The Egyptian goddess.
The chariot?
No, that sphere and crown that she's wearing.
The Egyptian goddess.
Yeah, that's
Are you talking about? I guess you're not talking about tarot anymore.
no,
The
no.
goddess.
Yeah, I need to look it up. Osiris? No, that's not right.
Um,
Hold on, I'll
Son
find it. Dang it.
Osiris. It's who's Osiris's mom?
That's who I'm talking about.
Osiris's mom. I'll just pull it up real
Yeah,
quick.
you've got me looking up this. You've got me
Osiris's
looking up
mom.
this as well.
Nut.
No, it's not.
Is
It's
it
not the
sister?
mom.
Not the mama.
Not the
Isis.
mama. Isis. Yes, Isis. Do you see that crown on her head?
Yeah, let me pull
On
it up.
Isis?
They don't all have it. Oh yeah, look at
Right,
this
but
one.
yeah.
See
Oh
that?
yeah.
Is
You
that
see
showing
it
up for
in a
you?
lot of them. I'm not seeing anything that
Oh,
you're
okay. I was
doing
like,
right
I didn't
now.
realize I was sharing. Here we go.
No, I just know what you're seeing.
Share this real quick. So there's Isis again.
Woo, looky there. That's Egyptian. That is not Hebrew. That's Egyptian, dang
That's interesting.
it.
Well,
And look
I
at where
mean,
her feet are
I was going to say they make a point of putting your feet on a solid
on a
foundation as opposed.
foundation.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Now, another cool thing that I like about this is the all the points where you're showing the different sephirot
Hmm.
in on that card.
Hmm.
Those are seeds.
Yeah, what plant is that? I was thinking pomegranate or something, but I don't think that's what they
Yeah,
are. Are they?
I don't think it is. It might be. If you look at that top one, it kind of does look like pomegranate because pomegranate seeds look like that, and the outside kind of looks like that, like a gourd with a little tit on it, a little teat.
Oh, it's embroidered with palm leaves and pomegranates,
Yeah, there you
which are
go.
palm leaves are associated with male and pomegranates are with female.
Yep. So, anyways, it's just
Growing on
kind
a
of cool
tree shaped like
stuff.
the tree of life. So,
Ooh, looky there. You
Lord,
know,
yes.
you're able to add two and two together
There
without even
you
reading anything.
go.
But that's cool though, and that's a good that's a good representation of how you were able to take the words that I was saying and look at that card and apply that right there
Mhm.
and just boom,
Well,
it kicked off a light bulb.
well,
And
it's like
there's
when
no
you,
reason that every Mason out there can't do the exact same thing.
yeah, when you get into tarot, it's natural to say, I just go to Google all the meanings, and you can do that. But at the same time, every website will say you need to look at these yourselves and kind of interpret
Yes,
how you
yes.
would. And so it's interesting. I was like, that's stupid. That didn't work for me. I stare at it, it doesn't mean anything. But as you talk and as you study, and we're talking about it, like the card's just calling out to me, right? And I'm looking at it, it's like, dude, it's all right there. The tree of life. Everything we're talking about is right there on that
Right.
card right now.
Yes. Well, and I heard it on a podcast one time, and it's called WTF the Kabbalah. I love it. It's such a funny interpretation. It's what the is Kabbalah. And these two kids, I say kids, they're like 30 years old, 32 years old, and they're very educated on this stuff, and they've read many books on it. And so they're interpreting this stuff as they go. And and it's kind of the same thing where, as they're talking about it, it's just drawing pictures in your mind. And then all of a sudden they say, oh, well, they say that if you lock a rabbi in prison with a set of tarot cards, he can map out the exact tree of life and everything with all the tarot cards, and explain it all without ever having to read the Torah or anything, just by the symbolism itself.
That's cool.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool thinking about that, but
Kind of cool.
maybe a little bit off. But so we mentioned earlier about 32 degrees and 33rd degree and Kabbalah, which you know we kick off in Scottish Rite, in the Scottish Rite, we kick off Kabbalah at the very beginning in the fourth degree. We introduce the candidate to Kabbalah right off the bat because
Mhm.
it is the foundation of everything that we're talking about. And just like we've talked about being able to apply all these different mystery schools with uh, with the Tree of Life, the for that very reason, and I wouldn't say that's the only reason. I mean, the man was pretty dang educated, even though he did, uh, use a lot of what other people had wrote in morals and dogma and stuff like that. But the man was educated. He read a lot of books, but he was of the firm opinion that we are all connected. Every religion is connected through the mystery school, and I am too. I'm
Yeah.
sold, man. When I first went through the degrees, I really didn't understand this stuff at all.
Mhm.
And then I heard, Robert Park talk about it, and he just blew my mind. And I was lost still for another 3 or 4 years. And then finally it started just a reunion after reunion, and then studying each one of the degrees with my brothers from the Scottish Rite. And it finally started taking shape, and I finally started understanding to where I own a deck of tarot cards. I have books on Kabbalah. I have um, other books. I have to say I have a book on the way with that's Nag Hammadi, the Nag Hammadi scriptures,
Interesting.
which are all the lost scriptures that were found in
Cool.
Egypt.
That's cool.
Yes,
They're still
yes.
getting into those things. They're coming up with new technology. Also, it's like a copper scroll that they couldn't open, but they can actually scan it inside now and see what it
Oh,
was
wow.
talking about. Yeah, so they're still adding to
Interesting.
that collection. Uh,
Yes.
I do want to say we don't know a lot about the mystery schools, right? Because they did a lot better job to keep their mouth shut than we do today. But we do know some details of some of the different mystery schools. And to your point, if you were to go back in time and sit in like the cult of Mithras or sit through the mystery schools in Egypt or something like that, you're going to see a lot of things like we're doing that in in 2024. And so you're right. These things are still they're linked, and they have been linked for a very long time. You could say it's because Freemasonry borrowed heavily from other schools, or you could say it's because there's certain commonalities that start to present themselves when you're studying
Right.
and doing these things. I mean,
Right.
it's no coincidence. Like we're talking about the tree of life, and here I was showing the tarot. We're talking about Bakken, Boaz, and Jockin, right? It's no coincidence that you have Boaz and Jockin in your lodge, right?
Right.
So it all links together. I mean, if you have no interest in Freemasonry and you go home and spend every day studying tarot or spend every day studying Kabbalah, you're going to reach the same truths.
Right. Yes. And this is what we talked about for a long time is that we have a lot of young men that are out there that have this knowledge just spoon fed to them through the internet. And we better sharpen ourselves up and be ready for these guys when they come in the door. Because, like I said earlier, when I was 20 years old, I really didn't get it. I could have pieced some things together, but I would have been fully loaded with a bunch of words I really didn't understand. And I would have held a big game of conversation. And I can tell you, we've got a lot of that coming in the doors.
Mhm.
And not that these guys aren't intelligent. It's just that they're really they may not have the depth that some of us have because they don't have the mentors that some of us have, and they don't have the Robert Parks out there. They didn't have they don't have the Justin Armand. They don't have the David Hills out there to help them through, or the Dave Bindles. I mean, they just don't have those guys out there, and so that's what they're looking for when they're coming in the door. And if we're not ready to be those mentors to them, then they're going to walk right back out completely disappointed in one of the most ancient schools of thought of all time. One, if not the most, it's not the most ancient, but it is the most, it has the most longevity of all time
Mhm.
because we do build upon all the other ancient mystery schools and we illuminate it. We are happy that people want to learn it and read it and understand it and engross themselves with it. That's that's what makes Freemasonry so special that we need to hold on to and be ready to provide for other people as they're coming in.
Well said.
And I'm not saying that everybody's going to be like that either. I mean, I wasn't like that when I joined. Yeah,
Me either.
I thought national treasure, dude. I loved it, and I loved the history, and I knew I had some kind of tie in the history, and I knew that my grandfather walked with clout, and and I wanted to have that same swagger. To be
Mine was
honest with you,
more League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. We got Sean Connery, and he's sitting in that. I remember
I
there's like
like that.
this
Yes,
grand
I love
room and it
that
had
movie.
square compasses everywhere. And I was like,
Right?
man, I want to sit in a lodge like that one day.
Yes, and there are some like that. There are
Yeah,
some that are similar.
yeah.
Not so much in Texas. Well, we
No,
have a couple in Texas that are pretty dang cool.
yeah, we got some really
But
good, some big, good buildings.
oh yeah, oh yeah, especially in some of the Scottish Rite buildings, we have some really ornate rooms that would just blow your mind.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap this bad boy up, man. It's 11 o'clock, and I got star test tomorrow. But
Okay.
I will abstain from final thoughts because it's your birthday. I want you to have as much time as you got.
Well, it's man, that's not fair. I have too many thoughts. The whole thing has been a final thought.
I think what we need to do is have a part two to this.
This has been a good discussion. It's been a lot better than that other one, wasn't it?
We caught ourselves a few times. Like, oh, we got to reel this
Yeah.
back in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might still
Well,
release that
and
just for members only, just so they have it. But
oh my gosh.
I think this one is a lot more polished.
Well, this
I lost you.
this, this My connection went bad.
Okay, you're
Are you
good now.
there?
Yeah.
My computer's probably trying to do an update. It always happens around the same time. Well, it's 11 o'clock. So we need to think about that next time that, 11 o'clock. I wonder if it happens at the exact same time next time.
I think so. I think they push out updates around the same time.
Yeah, it may be midnight Eastern time. So that may be it.
Yeah. Because they like to do it
So,
at night while I was sleeping.
yep, they don't know me very well. Okay, so final thoughts. So today we've taken a pretty good, I wouldn't say a complete journey through Kabbalah, but we've taken a pretty dang deep journey into Kabbalah to help you understand what we're referencing when we're talking about Kabbalah. We are by no means scholars on this subject matter. However, I hope that you will be able to piece together some of the things that we've talked about with some of the things that you've come across and you've talked about with your mentors and what you've recognized in the Scottish Rite and in some cases the York Rite. That's one of the things I didn't mention earlier, and I would like to mention real quick before we go back to before we finish up these closing thoughts. So when I was talking earlier about the rungs of the ladder for Jacob's ladder,
Mm-hmm.
I only got up to the Master Mason's degree, and there's actually four levels to this. So emanation would be the Royal Arch Mason. That's really where it all ties in. That's your fourth rung to your ladder. So I didn't say that earlier, and I wanted to. I almost forgot to. In closing, though, I do want to say that just so that you know, Kabbalah is intended to be to bring you close to God and have a full awareness of God in your life in every moment in time. That's why the Jewish faith studies Kabbalah. That's why the rabbis study Kabbalah, because they're dedicating themselves to, that energy that I was talking about earlier, that when the light hit it, it broke all these particles together, broke all these particles apart. Well, the rabbi is actually trying to take those pieces, those particles, and put them back together in everything they do in every moment. Every thought they have, when they brush their teeth, they're doing it for God. When they walk to the bathroom, they're doing it for the glory of God. When they eat a piece of food, they recognize that it is filled with that energy, and that food is going to actually bless their body to create goodwill unto men. Yeah, it's all connected like that. That's what it is to really study and practice Kabbalah. What we're doing here is we're studying Kabbalah, and we're trying to understand this mystery we call life. For the Jewish religion, they really are trying to live Kabbalah when they get to that point. That's why they have to be prepared to a certain degree before they can do that. I made light of it earlier with all these rules and regulations and stuff like that. But that's why they're trying to be prepared, so that when they are at that point, they're able to free themselves from all the things that bind them and commit every act toward being closer to God and emanating the light from those particles as they pick them up. That's what Kabbalah is to the Jewish faith, in my understanding. That's my understanding, and I'm pretty sure I'm factual on that. So I don't want anyone to walk away from this thinking that I made light of the faith or Kabbalah or anything that we're discussing. we joke around with what we say and do because we want it to be fun. We want it to be, you know, to help you keep your eyes open. Unlike Justin Jones, who, as the night grows on, his eyes get tighter and tighter together, and he's squinting at the screen. Oh, my eyes, my contacts are burning. Yeah, that's called sleepy. That's called millennial right there. That's what that is. It's past his bedtime. That's called responsibility with kids. That's
That's what it
responsibility with
is.
kids. That's why you can't be too young and study Kabbalah
That's
because
exactly why. Perpetual
you're too damn
exhaustion.
tired.
I was just
Yes,
thinking,
you're
it's
too
like, man,
damn.
I turned 40 last year, and I don't know how you. I feel like I have
Well,
less time now.
right, right. Well, I'm 52 today, and a lot of this stuff is just clicking. So, man, I'm super stoked that you and brothers your age or younger are already digging into this stuff, because that means you're just going to be 20 times of the man I am today when you're 52. You're at my level now, so by the time you're my age, you're going to just exponentially be smarter than I am. Though I will never let you be smarter than I am as we go along. I will continue to teach you these things, grasshopper.
Mm.
But but no, seriously though, I mean that's the reality of where our masonry is today. And that's the reality that our brothers my age and older need to recognize and need to embrace, that this is what we're dealing with. It's not a cocky thing from these guys or whatever, but they're already learning this stuff. Fortunately, there's mentors out there that I have that they get to have that are helping them learn this stuff. And so they're millennial ahead of us when it comes to information and knowledge. So, we really need to step up our game. And Justin, it is going to be up to you when you're, 52. It's going to be up to you to be ready for the next guy that's your age that's going to be 10 times smarter than you are right now.
But you'll be looking at retirement around that point, so you'll have way more time.
Yeah, I'll have more time as I make myself available for different things.
Yeah.
No, I actually, if I make myself available for different things, it will probably be before retirement, so I can still afford it.
That's smart.
But
And enjoy your retirement instead of stress out.
right, right. No, actually, those kind of things. If we do this right, going from this point today forward, we're going to be okay. And you're going to have people in different positions going forward for the right reasons, and it's not going to be so hard. And the more we educate ourselves today, the easier it's going to be later. So, Justin, I'm basically just trying to pave the way and make it easier for me later on, so that when I am ready to retire and kick back, then it'll be a little bit easier for me to just enjoy Lodge and not have to feel like I have to fix something all the time.
Mhm. You actually go
Even
and
though
get the
it's not
value
really
you're
my job.
promised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Even though it's not my job, but there's a certain duty and honor that comes with this thing. And that's another part of tonight's story, is that there comes a point when you realize that it is your duty to seek more light. And that's what we're talking about tonight, is seeking more light. And it is our duty to do that. It is our duty to seek that illumination that is only going to come from asking the hard questions. And then once we ask those hard questions, being able to listen for
Mhm.
the right answers. Because that's the scary part. Sometimes you're
That's
afraid of what you're going to hear,
that's the hard
right?
part. Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you, if I understood a lot of what I understand now, back when I was younger, I might have been, a serial killer or something like that. Who knows? Just kidding. Delete that part.
Hey, it's never too late to follow your dreams.
Right. Right. Who's a goal setter? But reality, in reality, I wasn't mature enough for this at that time. I'm barely mature enough for it now. And and that's one of the points I want to get across to our listeners is that um, we have fun so that we can have fun. It's just for the enjoyment of it all. You
Mhm.
can't be too serious all the time. Um, it's that balance, it's that equilibrium, and that's what we're all seeking. And so when you find that imbalance in your lodge, be the other, be the opposite side that's going to bring that harmony to your lodge. And no matter which side it is, if your lodge is oblivious, then maybe you need to help set things straight to get back in balance. Sometimes that's what's necessary.
Mhm.
If your lodge is way too damn serious, maybe you need to be the guy to lighten it up and say, hey, let's go have a drink after.
Or
Let's
if it's not
enjoy each
serious
other.
enough, you do
Yeah,
the opposite. You gotta bring that
right,
balance.
right. So let's not just talk it on this show. Let's be it. And that's what we're charging all of our listeners to do out there is to be the Masons that we need you to be, because the brothers that are coming in next, they're needing us to be those Masons. They need us to pave the road to make it easier for them to find that peace and harmony right off the bat instead of having to work for it. It's one thing to work for balance, right? There's got to be some resistance there to make it worthwhile, right?
Hmm.
But but it doesn't have to be a continuous uphill battle. And
Okay.
that's our job. Now that we know better, we know better. So let's act better. Let's do better. Let's be better. Let's be all that we can be as men in a free society and allowed to think whatever the heck we want to think is silly or stupid or smart or however it is. You know, we should love each other, embrace each other, and try to help each other to get there.
Agreed. Agreed. Agape.
So with all that being said, brothers, thank you for spending my birthday night with me. Thank you, Justin, for appeasing me by having this other discussion on
No, we need
on
to do
uh,
another one. We need to do a
on
part two.
Kabbalah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We'll
We
make
can
it.
bring more
We'll do
bring
next
more tarot
birthday.
into it. Yeah, we can bring more tarot into it next time. So, because we did just scratch the surface on some of that, but I'm glad that you did show that example because it did help to illustrate that we're not just trying to sell you a bill of goods to get you to start secretly practicing witchcraft.
Mhm.
We actually want you to learn what you're supposed to be learning, and it's all right there in degrees. If we had brothers talking about this with the fellowcraft degree, you might not have to join all those dependent bodies to understand this stuff,
Really,
right?
what this is like the Matrix analogy I spoke about at the expo. Red pill and blue pill, right? It's your choice, right? You can watch all this and be like, I'm happy with my fish fries. Then take that blue pill, go back to your lodge. I mean, that's not Freemasonry, but you can go back and do that. Or you can take that other pill.
Right.
But understand there's no going back. You can't. You can't. Once you start studying the esoteric stuff, you start going to lodge, you're like, oh, there's those pillars. They're on that card. We studied that Kabbalah. You start
Yes.
seeing these things and you just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. So
And then you start talking to brothers in your lodge and you realize you have to travel outside your lodge so that you can talk to people that
now I gotta join
understand,
Scottish Rite. Darn. It,
which we do have reunions coming up so that in May and June, we got a lot of reunions coming up. And in July is uh, June, wait, October is the Dallas Scottish Rite, if I remember right.
this
Or
sounds
no,
about
that's Waco. Waco is and Dallas is also that
it's around
in
that
that
same
time
time of year.
frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Because I did
then
mine last year around then in
and
Dallas.
we were late in San Antonio. We're normally doing it in May, but we're doing it in June for our spring reunion. September is usually our fall reunion. Is it September or October? Either way, it'll be about the same time as normal. Um, I'll be in in Arkansas for their Scottish Rite reunion next month, which is
Mhm.
exciting. I can't wait.
When is that? I'll try to go.
That's the 28th, I believe.
Okay, you can just save me the info later. It's no big deal.
Okay.
I was talking to Brad about it, but he couldn't remember 100% either.
Um, also, brothers, if y'all go on to Texas Freemasons and look for Jason Jenkins' latest post on the work that they did in the mine over in Kentucky, or no, in Missouri. They There's a brother that owns the oldest mine in Missouri, and it's decommissioned. But there's actually a lake down there that they still go and dive. But they actually opened it up and did a lodge in that mine this last weekend, and so it was probably one of the coolest things that happened in the U.S. last weekend, and nobody really knew about it until after the fact. So we need to keep up with these guys and watch them, because they're going to do it next year too. This was their first one. They're going to do it next year also. So next April, I would like to go to that. I'm planning on going to it if I can break free. But just so y'all know, they got together in a mine shaft, in a decommissioned mine shaft in Held Lodge, and they used to do it years and years ago. In fact, the brother that owns that mine shaft, he was raised in that mine. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah. But
that's
they've
cool.
got everybody and their mother. He said that they had over 100 people there in that mine shaft, going down with you know deep down into this mine shaft, opening up lodge. They had 2 layers of tilers going up the mine shaft.
Wow. So whenever they ask whose lodge it is, everyone says it's mine.
I set you up for it. I did it. It's my fault, guys. I'm sorry.
No, I keep
I'm
digging myself in a hole.
Whoa. Don't mind me.
All right, it's time to go. All
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
everybody.
So friends and brothers, thank you for sharing the time with us. Keep it between the points. And remember, the fellowcraft degree was the last degree that we ever needed if we really wanted to learn this stuff.
Bum, bum, bum. I
Bum,
mean, look
bum,
how deep we got without
bum.
even talking about masters, except for a few illusions, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
All
Later,
righty.
bro.
Y'all take care.
Hello, friends and brothers. This is Justin Jones with Masonic Improvement, joined with the guru of Goliath himself, Brother Dennis Gates. How you doing, Dennis?
Wonderful. How are you?
I am outstanding. So you may have noticed that we have Kabbalah up in the background, and we also have tarot cards that are embedded on the Tree of Life. We're actually going to pick up where we left off on our last episode. We talked about Kabbalah in light of the Fellowcraft degree, and we're still going to do that in light of the Fellowcraft degree, but we kind of got this Kabbalah taste in our mouth, I think, and we just kind of want to finish that meal, so to speak. Not that you ever can, but get a really good bite in before we move on to something else. So we're going to take a not a deep dive. We're getting out of the kiddie pool. We're going to kind of just wade a little bit, and if anyone
Tread
wants to deep
water.
dive, we're going to tread water. And if anyone wants to
We're
deep
gonna
dive, we're not at that point yet where we're going to do any deep diving, and we may never be, but we are definitely going to tread
Oh,
water.
we have experts to get on here when we're ready for deep dives.
Granted, you could say this is part of pursuing the journey on your own, but I think there's also value in picking up a book and experimenting it
Yes.
with yourself also. So I don't really want to, at this point, just like hand out everything. But even if you did, you still have to experience it yourself to really appreciate and
Right.
understand what's being told. To actually sit down and look at the Tree of Life yourself and experiment with the cards and
Oh,
see where they fall and
yes.
things like that.
Speaking.
Until you're
Yes.
actually doing that, it doesn't cement itself. It's one of those weird things. You can spend a lifetime reading books about this kind of thing and watching videos about these kind of things, but until you actually sit down with a deck of tarot cards or sit down with a picture of the Tree of Life and actually study it, it's never going to sink in. You're never going to understand.
You're absolutely correct. As with all things, when you're dealing with philosophy and theology, it really has to speak to you on your level, and it will. So whatever we talk about, we're trying to whet your palate, and hopefully it'll something will stick and get you excited about it. But we by no means can be the be all say all on anything really, anything that we talk about in Freemasonry. We can't be the end all say all of any topic, because everything that happens to you in Masonry and in your journey is going to happen specific to you, and you're going to receive it specific to you, because everything that calculates in your mind is based off of the previous intakes and data that your mind already has. So your mind already has its preconceived notions, and it's only going to accept things a certain way, even if it's still close to the way we would explain it. You're only going to understand it one way because of all the preconceived notions that you already have. Yeah. And so you need to read multiple books and watch other YouTube videos and just there's all kinds of ways to study Kabbalah as well as other ancient mystery schools. And that's what you should be doing. That's what we should be doing as a learning organic body moving forward in this journey together.
I think a good analogy, and I don't want to get into politics on this, but a good analogy is look back, not at the previous election, but the one before then when Donald Trump won, and you had one group that was celebrating and then another group that was screaming, crying in the streets, right? Two different people, two groups interpreted the same event differently, right?
Yes.
And so that's an extreme example, but another thing could just be like Dennis and I. If something happened, I don't know, but he and I, we have different experiences. So if we both experience an event at the same time, he may interpret that totally different than I would. He may perceive it as good. I may perceive it as bad. He may perceive it as an indication that something's going to happen. I may just take it at face value. And so, to his point, it's not enough just to get granted, we're going to do this some tonight because it's a good start, but it's not enough just to get a website or a book and say, okay, I drew this card. What does this sign mean? Because as you learn about the symbolism of the card and possibly what the reverse meaning means, if you believe in that kind of stuff, the interpretation is going to hit you differently depending on where you're at in your life.
Yes. It's just like back in the day, you probably heard when you were at church that, you may read one verse this way today, and then in 5 years, it's going to mean something completely different to you when you read that same verse. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's with all philosophy and theology, in my opinion.
Yeah. If you do like a one card draw, you may say, okay, this is what it means. You think, okay, this is what's going on in my life. That must be what it's talking about. You may get the same card 5 years from now and say, okay, this is what's going on in my life. This must be what it's talking about. It's the same card, possibly with the same meaning. You're just interpreting it differently based off where you're at in your life. But anyway, Let's move on. I think we beat that first.
And a lot of it, yeah. Well, just for example, for us, a lot of the other people out there talking about it, their explanations may be different just because they're trying to touch a certain audience. As ours, we try to touch everybody, and so we try to give multiple explanations. So go out there and seek and find.
Absolutely.
Ask, seek, and knock. Go out there and do that.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
That's right. That's exactly right. One of the things I just received, in fact, I'm going to start reading it. I was showing this when you were talking earlier. And this is a book that's highly recommended by a lot of people, The Mystical Kabbalah by Dion Fortune. So I would like to definitely throw that out there and mention that, because it's something that I plan on learning from, because people I trust and admire learned from it.
Well, maybe I'll get a copy too, and we could discuss that in a future episode.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. I think that'd be a
I like
great
that.
idea. Maybe try to find the author.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be real cool. So, just a real quick rundown of what we talked about last episode on Kabbalah, so that we're not losing anybody. We talked about the fact. We talked to the fact of the pillars, the three pillars, the pillars of wisdom, strength, and beauty, also known as mercy. But anyways, the fact is though is that it is the tree of life is structured the way it is because it creates balance. There is balance between the different pillars, and what you're trying to do is get to that pillar of understanding. And the only one that we can reach right now on earth really is it's not even on this tree of life because it's not an actual sphere, but it's that of dot, D-A apostrophe A-T. I don't really know how to say it except for dat. And that's wisdom or understanding. That's what that stands for, is understanding. So that it's knowledge. So once you understand all the spheres and all the paths between the spheres and how they affect you and your journey, then this other sphere is created called dat or knowledge. And that's where you're working towards, is right there. At least on earth, that's what you're working towards. Because the top three spheres you're not going to reach until you're actually one with God.
That's cool, man.
And then we mentioned Jacob's ladder. Because we're starting from the earth, then we're taking the ladder upwards. And each rung, I'm going to explain real quick. Bottom rung is number 10 down there in that tree of life. And that's your action rung. That's a saya. And that is down here in the physical. That's the earthly nature of man and God. And as a matter of fact, it is God's thought put into action. So it's the complete journey is what 10 represents. And then right above that, there's your three spheres, 7, 8, and 9 that you see right there. That's the next rung on Jacob's ladder. And that's Yetzirah, or formation. So that's where the manifested thoughts of the next rung come down. As they're coming down, considered formation, because it's the thought of God moving from emanation to creation and then to formation. So it's the process of turning the thought into manifested reality. Then right above that is Bria, which is spheres 4, 5, and 6. And that's going to be your layer of creation. And that's where it goes from God being present in the moment and all things up above as light. That's just, you can't even understand as a human or as a soul what you're a part of. You're just part of it. You no longer have any instance of any existence. All you are is just a part of the big picture. You're just in it. So that's emanation. That's the very top rung. That's where we're all going to, right? To God. And that's when you're really one with God. But right below that is creation, Bria. And what that represents is the thought coming to create. So in the Bible, it says, in the beginning, the earth was without shape and oh, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without shape and form.
Was without form and void.
Yeah, it was without form and void. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, but the earth was without form and void. So that means to me that that's the process of where God put an idea into a thought. So like when we speak to each other, we're putting our thoughts into action by speaking it to somebody. We're relaying that information. So Bria, or creation, that's where it goes from the thought to letting it be starting the manifestation process. So when God says, "Let there be light," that's the beginning of creation. That's what that represents. It doesn't represent the actual physical form. It only represents the beginning of creation, the transference of from thought to reality, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, interesting.
Subconscious to conscious, I guess. That's more accurate, I think.
Okay.
So that, and then of course, the top is emanation, spheres 1, 2, and 3, and that's where you are with God. But on Earth, there's this other sphere that pops up in the middle of all that, in between 2, 3, 4, and 5. It pops up in the middle, and that's dot, and that's where we have this all-knowing understanding of the wisdom put into the tree of life, and that's what we're working towards.
Okay.
It's kind of like the heart and soul of Kabbalah.
Understood.
It's what keeps it going. But anyways,
said recap. That's pretty much a full lesson right there.
I know, right? But that was a recap of just a little bit of what we were talking about, trying to attach Kabbalah to the fellowcraft degree so people understand the stairs that you're going, the stairway to heaven is, or the stairway going up in King Solomon's temple is representative of Jacob's ladder, and Jacob's ladder is represented in the tree of life, or Kabbalah, because there's a microcosm and a macrocosm effect that we're dealing with Kabbalah. In fact, if you'll show, will you pull up that picture of the human body real quick?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Just so people know, these pictures we got off the internet, so we're not trying to steal anybody's stuff. Go on Google and just do a search for Kabbalah Tree of Life, and you'll find these very pictures. We're not trying to steal anybody's stuff or anything, or take credit for these pictures. We're just using them as reference. That's it. They're great works, and you ought to go and find the source on the internet. But I wanted to show them that human body with the spheres in it that have the tree of life representing different parts of the body.
Is that showing for you?
It's not showing.
Okay, I got it up. Hold on, let me fix that. I guess whenever you're doing sharing, if you want to change, oh, here we go. Share that. There we are. See it now?
There you go. Yeah, so if you look at the tree of life, the way the spheres are, that small part of dot, that basically is the pineal gland right here that's used in other religions that we have studied in the past. And then if you look at the Yesod, it actually works towards in other, what is it? It's not Buddhism, Hindu. They talk about the lily being the representative of understanding, coming from the earthly to the spiritual, and going from, as below as above, as above so below, but it's in reverse to where it goes, from the bottom to the top. So you see how the tree of life puts the dot right here in the pineal gland, and I just think that's pretty cool how they did that. Even though it's kind of weird that they put Malkuth right there underneath dot, because that is incorrect. That should actually be further down in the groin area, just below the groin area, I guess. Bring those other three up just a little bit into the reproductive area, because that's your formation area. Bring that up into the reproductive area, and then bring that Malkuth down to where it's, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they should. If you move Malkuth, you can move everything up a little. I guess they just wanted it all to be on the body, but right. Even though the top three aren't, but you can move Malkuth down to the groin, and Yesod would be like your stomach area, which is also, I think there's a chakra there, so I don't know why they wouldn't do that.
Right
below your belly button or above it.
Yep. So that's all cool things to think about. We're like we said earlier, we're not experts or anything. We're just on this journey too. and we're trying to figure this out as we go. So if you find something better than what we say, man, please share it with us. That'd be cool to know.
I will say this: if you found a good picture of a chakra, you could probably overlay that, and it would align
Oh
with
yeah.
the center.
Oh yes, it would. Oh yes, it would, for sure.
And
For
I think
sure.
it was you recommended a really good podcast, WTF Tarot, and I think it was on that one they were talking about it doesn't matter what religion you try to use Kabbalah through. I know we've had a guest in the past that would hate me for saying that, but it's applicable and it just works, right?
It's universal.
It's a universal tool that you can use
Yes.
despite your worldview or your religion that will still it'll just go, it goes right into it. And that's why I'm saying, like, if you overlay the chakra, they line up, right?
Yeah.
That's why you
Yeah,
got Jewish Kabbalah, Christian Kabbalah. What's the other kind? It just depends on how you spell it, right? Like with a K or a Q or a C.
right.
But it fits
Well,
in all these things.
and then there's people that use it towards hermetic principles, and then they'll line that up with Kabbalah, and it makes sense because a lot of what you're dealing with here are a lot of the principles from hermeticism.
Yeah,
you know, they all tie in together, and ultimately what that means is Albert Pike was probably right that we have one God, right? We all believe there's one creator. And I'm not talking about demigods and stuff like that. I'm talking about one creator. And then
don't you get Gnostic on me. We're talking about Kabbalah right now.
Okay, I'll
keep your demo to yourself for now.
Yeah, I won't go too far into all of that, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that. The cool thing though is that this is a good representation, even if it's not the exact map that I would have drawn out with the Tree of Life. The cool thing is that it kind of brings the reality of the microcosm of Kabbalah into effect instead of the macro, because in this representation you're looking at how it affects you and your body and how to keep yourself in balance. And whereas in the other form of Kabbalah that we're looking at on the other, while it does still represent the same thing, it actually represents more as well. So it represents the macro as far as the universe and all things in it and of it. And so it's kind of cool that you can relate to the macro or micro with Kabbalah, and insert sphere or Sephiroth here. Same thing there. I was trying to just help everybody remember that the spheres are the Sephiroth. Insert sphere here, and it's going to mean the same thing as something else. But where I was going with Pike is that he has the unity theory that all roads lead to Rome. Basically, we talked about that in the last episode. That's because all religion really, if it's really faith inspired, man, they're all the same. If you get down to the nuts and bolts of each religion,
don't kill people, don't steal things, treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yes,
they all have those core values.
Leave the world better than you found it. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Don't have relations with your neighbor's wife
or their animals.
But yeah, or their animals. But in all reality, though, if you read the Bible, it's actually completely opposite from that.
That animal thing?
No, the other's wife thing. But we won't go into all that. We don't want to lose.
Solomon had a whole harem.
I'm telling you, he had it going on.
Maybe he wasn't as wise as we thought, huh?
He was still wise because he had 3 levels to his kingdom. he and they were in the court area down on the checker pavement. They're sitting in the court area while he's in the Sanctum Sanctorum. No wonder they called it the Sanctum Sanctorum. You get away from all your wives.
Solomon's an interesting character. That'd be a good episode one day too.
Oh yeah.
Like if you want to get not just the biblical Solomon, if you want to get to the esoteric Solomon, there's some pretty crazy stuff. Yeah.
And it only makes sense that we want to represent Solomon as Masons, because we want to be esoteric badasses when it's all said and done. because we do believe that every person and with every religion has something good to offer to
Are
this
you
world.
telling me that King Solomon didn't pray to baby Jesus and selfish to raise dudes for his lodge? You make him sound like an elitist.
I know, right?
You
Like
know,
he used the finest oil and corn and cedar for his temple, and the finest marble and brazen pillars, and I make him sound way
nah,
right.
nah. My King Solomon wore overalls and Crocs.
Tell me, you ain't telling me nothing I didn't already know.
And if it weren't in the Bible, then he didn't do it. That was the only
This
book
is
he had in his library were the Bible.
because the Bible's made up of a bunch of books.
The King James Version.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I don't care if it was
Yeah.
1,000 years before King James was born. That's the only Bible there is, and that's what was King Solomon's library.
Yep. If it was
And
in Old English, it was right.
I think we digressed a little bit.
Yes, we took that way too far. But it's okay. That's the reality that we deal with in our world today. Is we got so many people that are very one-sided or the other, and it's not just the baby Jesus fans out there too. I mean, you got people on the other side of things in different religions that are extremists as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're just less cordial in their extremities, whereas the baby Jesus lovers, most of the time they're pretty calm and serene until you start talking about baby Jesus.
Well, I don't think we have to worry about offending the Masonic Ricky Bobbies out there this late into a episode on Kabbalah.
Right. They've already
It's-
stopped watching anyways.
Yeah, they're drinking Mountain Dew, watching NASCAR.
Yes. Ricky Bobby. Awesome.
Anyway.
So anyways, now let's get back to business. So today, for a little bit of what we're going to talk about is we're going to introduce some of the tarot cards that are represented in Kabbalah, and there's different ones in different spheres, but then also the different paths to the spheres, which is what I like the most. I like the ones that are the paths to the spheres, because the spheres represent the makeup of God, right? So it's an emanation of God. It's all the, well, not emanation. What's that word I'm looking for? Starts with an A.
So it was emanation.
Emanation,
Aspects.
maybe. Oh, there's something else I was looking for. But basically, these are all the characteristics of God. Okay.
Attributes.
Attributes. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so these are the attributes of God. And the paths represent the connection between one and the other. And when you understand the different paths, then you can tell where you are and where you need to be leaning towards to find the balance in between the two attributes of God. So those attributes of God are also attributes of our daily lives and our own journey. So he is the macro, we are the micro. And so I like the pathways more, I think, than just the spheres themselves. The spheres mean a lot, but the spheres are when you actually obtain that attribute, which is extremely hard to do and even more difficult to actually hold on to. Because the reality is we'll find that serenity and we'll find the peace that comes from mercy or kindness or whatever, but it's short-lived because we're human. We bounce back and forth all the time through this journey, but it's all in trying to find balance.
Mm-hmm.
So just in quick reference, we'll start with the pathway. But if you notice the path from I was wrong. It's the path from Malkuth, which is here on Earth. It's where we reside. From there to victory is the moon card. It's light, but it's lesser light. Read that characteristic that you got from that one.
For the
What's
moon
that
card?
website? What's the
Okay.
website that you found that information on?
So
I like the way they described it.
the website that I usually use for tarot is it's biddytarot.com, BIDDYTAROT.com. I'll leave a link in the description if anyone wants to look these up themselves. The moon card shows a full moon in the night sky positioned between two large towers. The moon is a symbol of intuition, dreams, and the unconscious. Its light is dim compared to the sun and only slightly illuminates the path to higher consciousness winding between the two towers. In the foreground is a small pool representing the watery subconscious mind. A small crayfish, we call them crawdads here, but whatever, crawls out of the pool, symbolizing the early stages of consciousness unfolding. A dog and a wolf stand in the grassy field, howling at the moon, representing both the tamed and wild aspects of our minds.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the pillar of wisdom. And I like that it's the wolves and the dog represent the aspects of our mind, the tame and the wild aspects of our mind, because I think that we require that to move from our earthly thoughts to thoughts of wisdom.
It, it
I like
goes
that.
it goes into more detail if you like. I can just read this next two paragraphs.
Yeah, yeah,
So it
sure.
gives kind of
If it's not too long.
it gives a general explanation and then it goes into it like if you drew it upright or if you drew it reversed. So I'll just share the upright. So the moon represents your fears and illusions and often comes out when you are projecting fear into your present and your future based on your past experiences. You may have a painful memory that caused emotional distress rather than dealing with the emotions you push down deep into your subconscious. Now these emotions are making a reappearance, and you may find yourself under their influence on a conscious or subconscious level. For example, if you had a car accident when you're young but didn't deal with the emotions. To remedy this, connect with your subconscious mind and release any fears or anxieties holding you back. Yeah, the moon can indicate a time of uncertainty and illusion when nothing is what it seems. Be careful of making fast decisions when the moon appears, because you may later realize that you only had half the information you needed. This is where the wisdom really comes in, I think. You need to listen to
Yes.
and trust your intuition so that you can see beyond what is in front of you, feel into situations rather than thinking what they mean. Let go of your conscious mental blocks or negative self talk and allow your intuition to guide you. Your dreams, intuitions, and inner guidance lead you forward towards higher levels of understanding if you listen and use your judgment to help interpret the messages of the subconscious.
Man. And you know, that's the path from sovereignty to victory.
Mhm.
So for you to find positive reinforcement to your life, you have to be stable and have your fears in check.
I like
What it
where
sounds like.
it points out you can't make decisions with half information, but
Yeah,
also there's an aspect where you have to trust your intuition also, right? Don't just
right.
rush into anything. That's not what wise people do. They collect as much information as they can, and then still they lead with
Well,
their.
I think that's yeah, I think that's where the dogs in the dog and the wolf comes in, because you one of is oh goodness. Tell me the two differences in there on that first explanation.
The tamed and untamed
Tamed and
aspects,
untamed. Okay.
yeah, of our
So
minds.
it's the tamed that keeps us centered, but it's the untamed that pushes us forward. That's what
Mm,
drives us forward is the untamed portion of our body. We have to have balance in that because we need enough to drive us forward,
mm,
but we have to be yeah, we have to be reserved in our thoughts in our consciousness as we're pushing forward. So we're not just doing things willy nilly. We're proceeding with caution, basically.
a tamed dog has very defined boundaries, right? A yard, a room. A wild
Oh
dog, a
yeah,
wolf, or a coyote, they don't have boundaries. They don't care about
yeah,
boundaries. And so this is about the balance between the two, making decisions. You can't go through life like a coyote with no boundaries, but you can't live in that box that is the yard or the room or whatever. You
I
have to
would have
find
to
that
say,
balance.
I would say I'm more of the wolf, not coyote.
I like
I'm
coyotes.
not. I believe that, but see, people. The reason our podcast works so well is because he's the tame and I'm the untamed,
Hmm.
and so
No, I'm
yes,
a one-man wolf pack. I don't know what you're talking about.
yes, yes. We both were. We were one man wolf packs, and then we found each other and became two. That's so funny. But there's truth to that though, because it really is what you'll find more successful um, groups and successful companies. They all have that kind of balance to where you're a little edgy, but at the same time you're reserved. That's one of the things. There's a we're going to have one of the brothers that have made himself available on the show, and that's one of the things I love about him is that he really does represent the wolf and the dog very very well because he is reserved in what he does, but he's also
He's
got
a
enough
lycanthrope.
ambition.
He has
Do what?
lycanthropy. He's a lycanthrope.
He's balanced. We'll just say that he's very balanced.
Which in our circle is very uncommon.
Right, right. Oh my goodness. Well, most of the people we know though are kind of weird though. We all fall into the deep end,
Yeah.
and there is no shallow. We kind of need the shallow every once in a while to bring us back. So now that we talked about the moon, so now if you look right above Alpha's going up, so the number 9 sphere, that's your foundation. That's the balance between. Let me put my glasses on so I can see what I have. It'll be easier for me to explain if I can see it. So the foundation is basically the balance between empathy and victory, and the and if you think about it, the masculine and the feminine, one is like go get them, and the other one is one of them is an external feeling, and one of them is an internal feeling. If that makes sense, and then below that is the foundation. So the world card is the one that goes up from the foundation. Number 21.
Hmm.
The world card. I love this one.
I was
It's
gonna say
got
that's one of my favorites too. There's a lot of symbolism on it.
yeah, there is. It's got the lion, the bull, the eagle, and the human at the 4 corners, and then you've got the eternal reptilian type circle there, bound together with 2 crimson cloths, which I like.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this scarf around this woman, and it looks like it's wrapped like a snake, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
There's a lot of cool symbolism in this card. It's a beautiful card.
Would you let me to go over that? Because
Yeah, please do, please do.
so the world card shows a naked, not
Woo-hoo.
naked. Sorry. So the world card shows a naked woman. I was thinking giggity, so that's why I said naked.
Neckety.
The world card shows a naked woman wrapped in a purple cloth, dancing inside a large laurel wreath. She looks behind to her past, while her body moves forward to the future. In her hands are 2 wands or batons, like the one the magician holds. It is a symbol that what was manifested with the magician has now come to completion with the world. The wreath is circular. I can't talk this evening. The wreath is circular, symbolizing a continual cycle of successful completion and new beginnings. Because as the woman steps through the wreath, she is completing one phase but beginning another one almost right away. Around the wreath are 4 figures: a lion, bull, cherub, and eagle, similar to those in the Wheel of Fortune. Both the world and the wheel of fortune speak to the cyclical nature of your life and your progression through its cycles. The four figures represent the four fixed signs of the zodiac: Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio. They are symbolic of the four elements, the four suits of tarot, four compass points, four seasons, and the four corners of the universe. They are here to guide you from one phase to the next, bringing balance and harmony to your journey. The end.
Nice. I like that. So that's the world card. And that one is going from Malkuth to, oh goodness. Let me get back to my little cheat sheet here. To Yod. Yod. Is that what that one is? I need to balloon it up. Yesod. Yesod. So going from the sovereignty of the physical world, the earth, you're going up to the foundation. So yeah, the world card is in between right there. So now between, do you want to keep going up the path, or do you want to just talk at random about different ones that are in this?
We got two options. We could, because we're also getting kind of late, we could do judgment, maybe one more, or we could just pick your favorite ones and do one or two of them that you feel is. I'm always partial to the Fool. I don't know why, I just relate to him.
I
And
think everybody else relates me to
and so also the Wheel of Fortune, since we talked about that's actually what's on top here, the world. It's just whatever you want, whatever ones reach out to you and grab you the most.
Well, I do like judgment because it's the balance of it's the opposite balance of the moon. But man, I really do like the Fool as well because that represents us, right?
Yeah.
That's our journey. We are journeymen. We are the fellows of the craft, and I'm gonna find that one before you start talking about
I
it.
listened to an entire episode. It's oh wow, I can't remember the name of the podcast, but I'll put a link if I remember it. But they had a whole episode on the Fool, and it didn't used to be card zero. It was card one. And at some point during the Enlightenment, they moved it to zero. And what's interesting about the symbolism moving it to zero is all numbers come from zero, right? Doesn't matter if you're going 1, 2, 3,
Right.
or 0, 2, 4, 6, or 0, 3, 5, 7.
Well, zero is the balance in any scale.
Yeah. So the Fool is really the root card of the tarot because anything can come from this is the like the seed of all potential, like all possibilities come from the Fool. And we all started this in our journeys. And some of us stay here. And it's not saying that negatively, but we all live this card at some point in our life.
Right. Well, if you think about it, if you look at the white sun there, the white light, that's exactly what I was talking about last episode, is that God is or Kether is the emanation of white light. It's
that all things came from.
Yes, it's the all, it's the all in the all. It is, what was, and what is to come. I mean, it's just, you're so into God, you're just so much a part of God that you don't even know it anymore. You can't even separate yourself from that. Right in our current form, we have our ego, right? It's us. That's us away from God. That's what separates us from God, is our ego. But once you're up there, there is no ego. It's just, you're so engrossed in God that's what that white light represents, I think. And you're walking, if you look at the way that the fool is traveling away from the white light. If you think about it, that's the path of he's walking away from the white light. So it represents that it's moving away from the all in all to, and that's where your ego is formed, is right in that moment when you're walking away, because now you're separate from God. You're no longer one with God. You're separate from God at that point. So in my mind, that's kind of what that would represent to me, just by looking at it, knowing the different symbolism that I know already. I would be interested to hear what that one explanation is from
Yeah.
that.
Well, there's definite meaning, like we explored with the world, right? Like the direction you're facing in the cards and what they're facing and what they're moving away from definitely has some symbolism. I'll go ahead and read that. So the Fool is numbered 0, the number of unlimited potential, and so does not have a specific place in the sequence of the tarot cards. The Fool can be placed either at the beginning of the major arcana or at the end. The major arcana is often considered the Fool's journey through life, and as such, he is ever present and therefore needs no number. On the Fool card, a young man stands at the edge of a cliff without a care in the world as he sets out on a new adventure. He is gazing upwards towards the sky and the universe, and is seemingly unaware that he is about to skip off a precipice into the unknown. Over his shoulder rests a modest knapsack containing everything he needs, which isn't much. The white rose in his left hand represents his purity and innocence, and at his feet is a small white dog representing loyalty and protection that encourages him to charge forward and learn the lessons he came to learn. The mountains behind the Fool symbolize the challenges yet to be overcome. They are forever present, but the Fool doesn't care about them right now. He's more focused on starting his expedition.
Man, that's awesome. You know what I thought about whenever you were reading that? The most impactful moment in my life that I could equate to that right there.
When you step off that cliff and fell down it?
Right? Yes, that was very representative. Yes. No. No, I'm thinking about back when I was 19, maybe 20, uh, when I was baptized. That happens. This kind of happens to a lot of people when they they really start finding God for the first time. They get on this natural high to where everything's, all the same things are there that have always affected you, but you just don't think about it. Your head is aiming to the sky. You're you know you're oblivious to where you are, and you think, and that's where all hope comes from,
Hmm?
and faith that it's just going to work out. It's kind of that same feeling when I look at this card. It reminds me of that feeling I had way back when life was just so full of potential.
I think it's
And
very similar. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
as I get older, I see that fading.
Yeah.
I see that feeling of potential fading, and it's really depressing sometimes. But that really is a powerful message in that one card.
Yeah. I think of, we were talking about uh like from a Christian perspective, you're looking up. And I think if you look at like examples of these really wise like monks and or hermits or whatever that had devoted their lives to their belief, the things around them, just like you said, don't necessarily affect them because they are so focused on something.
They're on a different level.
Yes, you're on a different level, but you're focused on something higher than what's going on around you, right? If there's like a mountain and the only thing that's important is on top of that mountain, then the chaos around you don't really matter as much as whoever's on top of that mountain being safe or whatever's up there being taken care of. It's also a lot like the canines and the moon, how they're both looking up as far as that's
Right.
associated with wisdom. They're focused
Yes.
up. Granted, the light's dim, right? But they're focused up there. They're not really worried about what's going on around them necessarily. Because one may be
Right.
tame, the other may be wild, but they're all on an equal field.
Yep. Nice. Nice. I like it. I'm going back looking at that. It's funny that that one card, the world card, is they say that that's a circle of laurel that's bound together,
Mhm.
because I do see it as a snake. It's cyclical in nature as well. The constant endings and beginnings in life. But anyways, I
They,
just
they hinted at that also, I think. They didn't use the snake allegory, but they did talk about
right.
cyclical things starting
Yes,
and ending.
exactly. And so, but for me, I always use the snake to represent that. I've never used laurel, but that's interesting because we hang that wreath on our doors, don't we? Huh.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Around the time of the
Wow.
year that the cycle starts over.
That's just almost pagan. We got to stop that. Oh my goodness.
It's just
Where
crazy
did that
talk.
come from? Crazy talk. All right. So let's move on. I love the journey. I love the fool. I love the
Let's explore one more because I like
the
this.
magician. Okay, which one?
Oh, you want to do the magician?
I love the magician.
I
I
also
really
like the
do.
magician a lot. Let's pull it up.
Do it to it. I
I
want to
think
hear
it's
what he
starting to
says on
thunder
that
here
one.
too, so it might be a good time to. All right. Oh,
Yeah.
this is a nice one. All right. The magician.
Very first thing before you say anything, what's the very first thing that comes to mind when you think of the magician?
As above, so below,
Yes. Yes.
because of the pointing. It's also interesting to note that even though we say that the fool is kind of the origin card, everything comes from the fool. The magician, and I haven't read this, so it's probably already on here. But the magician has the symbols of each suit on his table,
Yes.
right? Meaning
Yes.
he's either mastered or is beginning to master everything that these have to teach.
Absolutely.
But let's actually explore this.
And yes, and because of as above, so below, that's why he becomes the master. Okay, go ahead.
The magician card is numbered 1, the number of new beginnings and opportunities, and associates with the planet of Mercury. He stands with one arm stretched upwards towards the universe and the other pointing down towards the earth. His position represents his connection between the spiritual and the material realms. The magician uses this relationship to create and manifest goals in the physical realm. He is a conduit that converts energy into matter. The magician's robe is white, symbolizing purity, and his cloak is red, representing worldly experience and knowledge. On the table in front of him are the 4 symbols of the tarot suits: a cup, pentacle, sword, and wand, each symbolizing one of the 4 elements: water, earth, air, and fire. It is also a sign that he has all the tools and elements he needs to manifest his intentions into being. Above his head is the infinity symbol, and around his waist is a snake biting its own tail, both of which signal that he has access to unlimited potential. And in the foreground is an array of foliage and flowers symbolizing the blossoming and fruition of his ideas and aspirations. Whew, that's a lot to one card right there.
Man, that's who I want to be. I want to be the magician. Golly, that's awesome.
I'll get you a snake belt for your next birthday.
What's oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be just like that kid in the Crudes. I call it belt. Anyways, not everybody's seen that movie. That's a great movie. You should see it. It's a cartoon movie.
Oh, I got you.
But have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, you're just
The
way behind on the
cruise.
times. Croods, Croods. You'll love it. You'll love it.
Oh, the
I
cruise. Is
guarantee
that a
you.
K-band cartoon? Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
call it belt.
Call it belt. Yeah. It's
But
interesting because I was just looking at my card and I never noticed it was a snake. I could see it now.
yes, yes. Yeah, and the reason I love this one the most, I think, is because it represents unlimited potential.
Mm-hmm.
And the magician, the reference to alchemy is in this card. That's your first reference to alchemy. And that's the job of the magician is changing the world with that unlimited potential.
Yeah.
That's because he's basically changing the world to actually represent what as above, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if the world is below there, he's trying to change the world to make it more of a better place like it is above.
Yeah. I mean, he may be bridging
But
the gap, but he is on the earth.
yes.
If he's bringing them together, he's bringing them together on the earth.
Well, and it's almost yes, and it's almost like the magician is the prophet, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion. When last week we were talking about the prophets in the Bible and how they didn't necessarily predict the future, but they were able to interpret what was there and bring a better outcome because of it. And I think that the magician has the same qualities because of the unlimited potential. They don't necessarily change the future, but they utilize what they have at hand to make it a better world around them.
Mm-hmm. I love that, man. Oh, I know we're gonna wrap it up with part two, but I don't know that it's ever. It's just like that episode that we keep talking about with the WTF Tarot. They're like, "How is this episode ending up to be so long? Why is this so long?" It's the same thing
Right.
here. Like, I didn't think we were going to do a part two when we started this journey,
I
but
know, and now we really might have to do a part three because we didn't even touch into much. We
no,
really
we
didn't, and
did.
I don't know that we would have to go so real far into the tarot or whatever in the next episode because now people understand the wisdom that comes from these cards and that it's not really just a bunch of hocus pocus. There's really meaning behind it, and if you dig deep enough, you can really find some cool understanding, and then you apply it to the tree of life here and where it is, and then you can get a better understanding of where you are in life and what you need to do to find balance. Because if you're, let's say, if you're on the sphere of mercy, then you would need the sphere of strength to balance you out. So, and then the same thing with wisdom and understanding. You need both to to be in balance with yourself and with the world within the world. And really, I'll end with this one last thought, and then
Okay.
we can go into closing statements or whatever. As above, so below. Really, the the changing that happens isn't necessarily you changing the world. Now that is going to be an after effect, right? That's going to be one of the ripple effects. But the changing is really inside yourself, and the peace that you want to find in the world, you'll find it. You'll find all the peace in the world because of the peace that you find inside once you master understanding of yourself and where you are in life and how to find that balance through different roadmaps like Kabbalah. That's the beauty of this
Yeah.
is that when we and this is a scientific theory that I read on a few weeks back or something, or I saw a documentary. So the makeup of all the pathways in your brain where all the electricity shoots through your brain to make all your thoughts and understanding happen.
Mm-hmm.
It is actual. They truly believe at this point that when you surround yourself with certain thoughts, like let's say you're so engrossed with the negativity of the war in Israel or in Russia or whatever, you're so engrossed with that, your mindset, or let's say you're one of those divorce court junkies, right? Or one of those conspiracy, who done it, who killed the person, like those murder shows that they always have on TV. Let's say you engross and really put all of your energy into watching that and feeding your mind with that kind of data. So when you do that, what happens is the mind takes that data, and then it's almost like artificial intelligence, to where it starts creating more data in your mind that represents those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So then your whole realm of thinking and everything that you do starts becoming one big conspiracy, or one big feeling of distrust, because all you're thinking about is what was on divorce court all the time, or that watching that all the time programmed your mind to just consider everything untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Same thing with those murder shows. You watch those ones where they talk about people killing and going to prison and all that kind of stuff. It's like a spinoff of 60 Minutes or whatever. But you watch those enough, and then the only thing your mind draws itself to is those kind of actions within the world. So as within, so without. So whatever you feed your mind is what you're going to see when you look out into the world. If you feed your mind with peaceful thoughts and all that kind of stuff, you're going to see the peace in the world generated.
That's why I don't watch the news, right? If you have anxiety in your life, stop watching the news.
I don't watch it either.
When the virus of unspecified origin came through several years ago, I broke that rule and I started watching the news, and I found myself very anxious all of a sudden, very stressed out and worried. So I turned it back off and I went about my daily life. And while everyone else is freaking out, I was fine. Right. And it's not about being willfully ignorant or anything like that. I'm still seeing what's going on around me. But what the news was telling me was going on around me, and what I actually saw was going on around me, were two very
different things.
And that's that kind of an extreme example, but that's every day. The news will tell you one thing's going on, and then you step out your front door, it's not like that, right? But it's also like people that are addicted to like pornography and stuff. They surround themselves with that kind of thing all the time. That all of a sudden you're objectifying women, and you're trying to you're just looking at them. You're looking at them the wrong way.
They're objects at that point.
That's also why you say there's a saying like you're the sum of the people you surround yourself with. If I hang out with 5 successful people, I'll become the 6th successful person. Why? Because I am hearing successful people talk about successful things. If you want to be confident, surround yourself with confident people, because you'll hear people talking confident things, and that will shape you as a person. And so the kind of things we surround ourselves with are what shape us. And it's it's powerful, but it's also kind of scary, because your thoughts, I believe that speaking manifests things very powerfully, but also to a lesser extent, the kind of thoughts you have a manifestation power. Speaking it really creates action in the universe, but even thinking it kind of puts you down that path, because if you start thinking things that are negative, you'll eventually start saying things that are negative, and that sets you down that path of manifesting that reality. So even your thoughts are what's guard your thoughts. I saw that on something esoteric, right? Guard your thoughts, something like that. But it leads you down that road.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting that you said that you mentioned the speaking of things and them starting to happen. It's manifesting your reality, right?
Yeah.
And we do it already subconsciously, and it just happens. It's not necessarily us doing it on purpose or not on purpose. It's better if we do it purposely, because then we're going to get the kind of results we want. But even if it's almost like the lodges, right? You can make a decision to do good things, and good things are going to happen, or you can sit around and do nothing, and still something's still going to happen, but it's probably not going to be the same result that you were hoping for.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in your mind. But what's interesting is that when you apply that to Kabbalah, just like we were talking about at the beginning, that white light is oneness with God, and then from there becomes the Word, and that's when that's when God is speaking the reality of what's to come, and then lo and behold, next begins creation, and then the next is where it's actually manifesting into real physicality. So I think it's interesting when we talk about that on our own microcosm level, micro level, and then think about it in godly sense that we are already one with God.
Mm-hmm.
And we are made in the image of God. The only difference is it's not the outer shell. That's not what the image of God is. The image of God is our spirit, our soul, our intellect. And making all that happen, we control our world with free will, just as God controls the universe with his will or its will. If
we are,
I love this kind of talk. This is my favorite thing to talk about.
if we're a microcosm of God, right? We're created in his image or its image or whatever. And God created the universe verbally with words. Then why is it so hard to believe that we create our own lives, our own reality with the words that we utter? It's that same is, and it's always cheesy, but it's that guy that goes to the mirror first thing in the morning and says, "You are smart, you are handsome, you're successful," because you're manifesting that from day one, from the very minute you wake up. And it sounds cheesy, but that guy goes through, and I don't do it. I'm not, but that guy goes through he starts his day with a different mentality because he starts it on a positive note and he manifests positive vibrations in his life before he goes about his day.
Vibrations. Ooh, you just brought Hermeticism into this talk.
Yeah. It all.
You know, it's interesting.
It just works. It works.
Right. The last apartment that I had to get ready after somebody moved out, she had written in, I guess, makeup with lipstick or whatever, eyeliner, whatever she had. She would write on the mirror all these different sayings, and it looked like graffiti all over the place. But if you looked closely at any one, they were all just positive attributes. And so every morning, that's what she would do as she's brushing her teeth. She'd just be looking at all these different positive attributes. And I got to tell you, man, she was like the fool. Her head was kind of in the clouds, and all she thought about was, praise God, praise God, praise God. And you know what? It worked for her. She had a pretty decent life, and she was, she wasn't rich. Like, she was renting apartments from us, but she had a fulfilling life in her, in the world that she had. It was fulfilling for her.
Yeah.
So she didn't see where she was as a negative. It was a positive, and everything she saw in that world was positive. I really did enjoy that about her. I miss her a little bit because I liked her as a tenant.
Some people, and I think it might just be a Southern Baptist thing, but some people can look at their lives and say, this is just where God wants me.
So I wanted to go back to something that you talked about earlier, just as a correction. For everybody listening, it's not what WTF tarot, it's WTF Kabbalah. Is Kabbalah. It's WTF is Kabbalah.
I think that's just the name of the episode. It's like the White Rabbit podcast or something. If you type
the whole rabbit.
I just went to Spotify and typed in WTF Kabbalah, and it took me right to the episode. But there's also some other interesting stuff on there that
they have all kinds of cool stuff. They're sharp kids. They really are.
Let me see what that other podcast was.
But they, they're products of their own making, just like we were talking about.
Mhm.
They said that their library that they have access to has, hundreds of books of Kabbalah, and they've read most of them.
Yeah, they have like an
They've
esoteric library in their town or something.
yeah. Well,
Like, dang, man.
yeah. So it's if you feed yourself with that, then you're going to emanate that, and it's almost like you'd be able to see all the spheres and everything. Like
Mhm.
it's almost like Tony Stark, right? Going
Oh
with
yeah, yeah.
that's how they are because they've put themselves into those books so so unconditionally as
Mhm.
apprentices. Now they are really the masters, just going, and they explain things so well. I really
So
enjoy it.
the podcast I was talking about, they had the episode of they go into all the tarot, but I re-listened to the one about the fool, and it's Know Thyself, the Know Thyself podcast. And
Yes,
they got some pretty esoteric stuff on there too. But
nice.
with that, I don't got anything else to add. This has been a great episode. And yeah, we'll probably have to do a part 3 sometime.
And
Probably
this
should get
may
some
just have to be a thing,
its own
right?
thing. I enjoy
Just
this. Like this is fun. Like
well,
I
well,
enjoy
me
talking about
too.
law
That's
and stuff like that, but these rabbit holes are enjoyable.
Oh yeah, but soon now, very soon, we're going to start putting out some more information for administrative purposes in the lodges, because we are getting to that part of the season to where,
Mhm.
if you're not thinking about it already, you better start thinking about it. If you're not thinking about it already, you're already late to the game. You're late to the ball. So get on the ball and
Yeah.
get ready, and we're
Yeah.
going to help you get there.
If you're a senior warden asking about how you should be doing things when you're in the East, this is a little too late. I mean, better late than never, but it's not going to go very well. So, anyway,
You just gave me anxiety. You just gave me complete anxiety.
sorry,
I'm just sitting here.
you're listening to negative things, and it gave you anxiety. So, just turn off the news.
Yes, don't do that. All the lodges I'm a part of, I try to help. So if you have a little wisdom and you have something to offer it. If it's for the good of the lodge, do it. If it's not, don't.
Pancake breakfast, fish
No,
fries,
no. Keep going. We're gonna
gun raffles.
no,
Post them online.
no. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm going to find, no, I got to say this. Since you brought it up now, you did it. Somebody sent this to me. I've got people out there. It's so funny. They see these posts and they send them to me and they say, what the is this person thinking?
They're
And,
not.
and I get these all the time, and it's so funny. So this is courtesy of one of our close friends, or one of my close friends and brothers. So he sees this picture of a pancake, of pancakes, and it's a pancake fundraiser, and it says by donation, supporting our community. And I'm not going to tell you.
I think I know where he found that.
And right above that, it says we're doing fundraisers. We have much needed repairs on our roof. Our insurance doesn't cover any of it. However, okay, so and then it has
Yeah.
this picture of this fundraiser, and he writes to me and he said, Dennis, how is this not lying to the public? Where are they supporting the community by putting a roof on their lodge?
Yeah. Yeah. I know which one. I got it pulled up now. I saw it. I saw it earlier. I didn't
Yeah,
read it. I didn't open it up and read it. No, it's the same. It's the same concept of the lodge that this guy posted from. The original
yeah.
post. They did a fundraiser.
Oh, okay.
The money was earmarked for the roof, and it said, "Help us fix our roof." On the flyer, and you had Master Masons that came, and they donated hundreds of dollars to go towards the roof. And so it's like $30,000 roof, like the whole roof needs redone, right? Like thirty
Right,
thousand
right,
dollars. That's on the cheap end, so you know it's not going to be done right on that end. But anyway,
right.
A guy went up there on top with a blowtorch and some tar, retarded the whole thing, even though it had been done 100 times before. It's fixed now. We tarred it. Hey, let's use that money and pay off our insurance. And now every mason, every master mason that donated money to fix that roof has been cheated, wronged, and defrauded.
Yes. And we are not supposed to do that, people. Not to the community, not to our brothers. We're just not supposed to do that. And that problem right there, that mentality that I just read, that I saw, that you saw, that everybody in Texas has seen, because almost everybody is a member of this particular group. That mentality comes through evolution. It began with fish fries for scholarships. And then it became raffles for scholarships. Then it became fish fries for foundation work. And then, of course, the raffles were earmarked for scholarships. And then they had they sell pancakes for a roof. But in their mind, they're helping the community. In their mind, they are doing something for the community. Every time they put on some kind of fundraiser, they think they're being a part of the community. Every time they ask somebody else to pay their bills, they think they're being part of the community. You're not being a part.
If a beggar on the side of a road asking for change is part of the community,
that's a part of the community, I guess.
By that aspect, you are. Welcome to the community.
Somebody needs to have that beggar, right? Every city has that beggar. It just happens to be this lodge in that city. And too many other lodges. And we got to stop that.
Yeah.
And that's not just in Texas. That's all across the nation, because we're all struggling with the same things. We're all trying to figure out anything we can to pay the bills besides asking the members.
Yeah. And really, when you do the fundraisers, it's the members that come and support it anyway.
Yeah.
No, and I don't want to sidetrack because I'm trying to wrap up here, but I'll say this. So there is no shortcut to supporting your lodge that comes before raising your dues. I'm sorry. And if there was a magic bullet that would fix a lodge's financial problems, that would work for every lodge, we would know it by now, right?
Yep.
There is no way around it. You have to raise your dues. Now, there are some lodges that don't have to charge very high to cover their costs, and there's some lodges that have enough money invested and they get enough off the dividends every year that they don't have to charge a lot. If your lodge is worried about going from $50 to $100 or $100 to $200, you're probably not that lodge, and it doesn't apply to you. I'm just saying, because if you're at $50, your lodge hasn't been making smart financial decisions for a while anyway, and they probably don't have a huge investment account.
Right.
Just saying. We have to tighten our belt buckles, put on our big boy pants, tighten our belt buckles, and look at our operating costs and charge what we have to charge to cover our costs and put money back every year. Because fundraisers are not sustainable long term. If you start doing that now, your children or your children's children will have a financially viable lodge, and they will thank you for making the hard decisions and setting that precedence. And if you don't, your children or your children's children may not even have a lodge around them they can join when they get old enough.
Right. It's all about legacy.
Yeah. Your legacy. Why can't I be a Mason, Dad? Oh, we didn't have money. We went bankrupt because we didn't make money. So anyway.
Yeah. That's because I put the external in front of the internal.
Yep.
Now, and this is this is something that's very important, and it ties into what we've been talking about. Everybody says it's the internal, not the external. Well, when you go to deny dues to your lodge, you're doing that because there's more importance on your external than your internal, because you're guarding that money that you have so that you can spend it at the movies, you can spend it on Netflix, You can spend it on going out to dinner. You can spend it on whatever you want to spend it on, whatever $100 rounds of golf, which I did that 15 years ago. I don't know what it costs today because my back's been hurt. Probably the courses I would go to are probably around 200 now. But the simple fact is that when we deny our lodge the money it deserves to be a temple, we care more about our external than our internal. And it shows. We've always said that you can judge a man by his wallet. You look at his checkbook and you know exactly what's important to him. And that goes along with this too. If you're not willing to pay for lodge, then it's not important to you. It's probably also the reason why you want to wear flip-flops in the lodge. It's probably why you want to wear overalls and be real proud of that, so that you can teach all the incoming brothers that lodge is not an important endeavor that you're taking on, that the work that you're engaged upon is not important. You see what we were talking about today, the internal. That's what we were talking about today. You see what we were talking about today and tell me that's not important. And tell me that me wearing a suit and showing reverence to the temple that I go to for my Freemasonry, with the knowledge of Kabbalah in my head, being able to speak on it at any time with anybody because I study this stuff, tell me I don't have a grasp on the internal versus the external.
Absolutely.
Tell me.
And
because if you think that, then you may be the fool in the other source, in the other instance.
You'd be stuck at zero.
Yes.
Hell, even the fool dressed nicer than most people at some lodges.
Oh, tell me. So that being said, we enjoyed this show and hopefully you enjoyed it. We really love this, so this is probably just not gonna be an episode 2. It probably just needs to be the next episode.
Yeah.
And just keep doing the next episodes in 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever.
We already hinted at a few things that we'd be good to talk about, so I can see this going on.
Maybe what we ought to do is yes. Okay, so the first episode was not episode 1. The first episode was episode 0. You need to take a picture of the card and put that as the symbol on our flash screen.
Okay, we do that.
Yes, and then every episode we just put as the next one, and then you'll know that's what we're talking about. When you see that card, you know what that episode's about, and you know we'll be talking about some sort of esoteric journey, and it may not necessarily be on the same instance as we have been talking. It may be on something else, but it'll pertain to that card.
I like that. They'll go real well and share at the Texas Freemasons.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'll start really sharing again.
Awesome.
All right. So, yeah, enjoyed it. Keep it between the points.
Later, guys.